Thanks very much. And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room, where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Standing by, CNN reporters across the United States and around the world to bring you today's top stories. Happening now, a powerful blow to the president's war on terror. It's 4 p.m. in Detroit, where a federal judge has ordered the government to stop warrantless wiretaps. Will this first-of-a-kind ruling hold up in other courts? We're examining all the legal and political angles, the ramifications. Enormous. Also this hour, a suspect's stunning public admission in the JonBenet Ramsey case, a decade after her murder. John Mark telling the truth. It's 2 p.m. in Boulder, Colorado, where the district attorney is warning the public not to jump to any conclusions. And hundreds of Lebanese troops marching south, reclaiming turf from Israeli forces. It's 11 p.m. in Lebanon, where the ceasefire is paving the way for peacekeepers and for commercial planes to fly once again. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Jerusalem. You're in the Situation Room. The Lebanese army says it hopes to have all 15,000 of its troops deployed in southern Lebanon in the coming hours. We're going to have the latest moves in the Middle East ceasefire a bit later. First, though, a huge legal and political story back in the United States with serious implications for the war on terror. A federal judge in Michigan is declaring the Bush administration's warrantless wiretapping program unconstitutional. And she's ruled the National Security Agency, the NSA, must stop monitoring Americans' phone calls and email without a court order. This decision is a first, and it's opening the door to more legal wrangling and new political sparring over what was already a very controversial program. Our congressional correspondent Andrea Koppel is covering the election year impact. First, though, let's bring in our justice correspondent, Kelly Arena, with more on the ruling. Kelly?
Well, Wolf, just to remind viewers, the NSA is monitoring phone calls and other communications between people in the U.S. and people overseas when one of the parties is suspected of a terrorist link. Well, a federal judge today said that the NSA can't do that because it violates free speech and privacy rights. Now, this suit was brought by the ACLU on behalf of lawyers, scholars, and journalists who say that they can't do their jobs well under the threat of having their communications monitored. Now, the ACLU says that this ruling proves that no one's above the law, not even the president. But the government argues the program is not only constitutional, but it's necessary for national security. Now, the Justice Department didn't waste any time, Wolf, in appealing this ruling, and it's expected that the judge is going to allow the wiretapping to continue while this case makes its way through the legal system.
Kelly, we're expecting to hear from the Attorney General, Alberto Gonzales. He's expected to make a statement any time, and the White House has just issued a statement suggesting that, yes, the program will continue while the appeal process goes into effect. In other words, the enforcement of this judge's ruling will be stayed, if you will.
That's
this
right.
is good news for the Bush administration.
Well, you know, it's as good as it can get when you are, when you're facing a ruling that says that a program that you say the president has authority to implement is unconstitutional. The stay, of course, will be temporary until the appeal process can go forward. But the good news, yes, they can keep it going for now. But as this case and others, Wolf, make their way through this legal system, we'll see where it all ends up.
We'll stand by to hear from the Attorney General, Alberto Gonzales, his reaction and the next legal moves. Thanks very much. Kelly Arena reporting. The Bush White House says it couldn't disagree more with the ruling against the domestic surveillance program. But Democrats in Congress already are applauding the decision and pouncing on what they call the president's, quote, power grab. Let's bring in our congressional correspondent, Andrea Koppel. Andrea?
Well, Republicans and Democrats were scrambling this afternoon to review and react to the judge's ruling. With 82 days remaining before the November midterms, both parties are continuing to jockey for position on national security, and this program in particular has been front and center in the debate. In a statement, Senate Majority Leader Bill Frist said that Terrorists are the real threat to our constitutional and democratic freedoms, not the law enforcement and intelligence tools used to keep America safe. I encourage swift appeal by the government and quick reversal of this unfortunate decision. Speaker Dennis Hastert echoed those concerns in his statement, saying our terrorist surveillance programs are critical to fighting the war on terror and save the day by foiling the London terror plot. We hope that the Democrats will join us in an effort to make sure America continues these vital surveillance programs. But the top Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Vermont's Patrick Leahy, indicated that is not likely to happen without a fight. I have always believed that the Bush-Cheney warrantless domestic spying program violated our laws. By following the Constitution and our laws, we can protect both our security and our American values. And Democratic leader Senator Harry Reid said the Bush administration's policies have made Americans less rather than more secure. The administration's decision to ignore the Constitution and the Congress has come at the expense of the security of the American people. Instead of being 5 years into an effective strategy, we're back at square one. Now, just before the August recess, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Pennsylvania Republican Arlen Specter, had tried unsuccessfully to get a bill he'd negotiated with the White House approved by his committee. When lawmakers return next month, Specter is going to try again to push that legislation through. Meantime, a senior congressional aide tells CNN there will be lots of opportunities next month for Republicans to cast Democrats basically in the light as being weak on security. Now, meantime, a senior congressional aide goes on to say that Republicans plan to remind the American people they are the ones who have a proven record in fighting the war on terror. Wolf.
Senator Specter will be joining me Sunday on Late Edition this Sunday coming up. Thank you, Andrea, very much. Here's some background on the U.S. District Court judge behind this wiretap ruling. Anna Diggs Taylor got her law degree from Yale back in 1957. She became a federal judge in 1979 after being nominated by then-President Jimmy Carter. She's the first African-American woman to be appointed to a federal judgeship in the state of Michigan. The plaintiffs in the domestic wiretapping lawsuit include a coalition of civil rights organizations, lawyers, journalists, and educators. How is the surveillance program affecting their day-to-day jobs? Our internet reporter Abby Tatton is standing by with more on this part of the story. Abby?
Wolf, today's ruling stems from a lawsuit backed. Wolf, we're going to
stand by because the Attorney General Alberto Gonzales is making a statement on this issue. Let's listen in.
The United States has been at war with Al Qaeda for almost 5 years, September 11, 2001. We have talked about this program on numerous occasions to the American people and to the American Congress. It is a very narrow program, again, focused on communications with Al Qaeda, where one end of the phone call communication is foreign, outside of the United States. It has been very effective. We've had numerous statements by leaders of the intelligence community about the effectiveness of this program in protecting America. We also believe very strongly that the program is lawful. It has been reviewed by a number of lawyers within the administration, including lawyers out at the NSA, including lawyers at the Department of Justice. It is a program that is reviewed periodically for its continued effectiveness. It is reviewed periodically to ensure that it remains lawful. It has been very important for the security of our country. As you know, today a district court judge in Michigan ruled that the program was unlawful. We disagree with the decision, respectfully disagree with the decision of the judge, and we have appealed the decision. And there is a stay in place, and so we will continue to utilize the program to ensure that America is safer. With that, I'm happy to take any questions you have. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Attorney General, in view of the fact that two judges have now found that there's sufficient information on the public record to describe the program for them to assess it, do you now regret any of the public statements you and the White House have made in describing the program?
Well, obviously that was a tactical decision that had to be made early in this matter. I think the decision by the President was that it was sufficiently important to reassure the American people, given the disclosure of the program, to reassure the American people about the narrow scope of the program, to reassure the American people that the program had been carefully reviewed for its lawfulness, to reassure the American people that the program is routinely monitored. And of course, we believe it was the right decision to reassure the American people that the President is doing what he believes is necessary, consistent with the Constitution, to protect this country from further attacks from al-Qaeda.
Judge Gonzalez, how does this ruling impact our efforts to work with Senator Specter to get a law passed which would resolve the issues that are of concern to the judge in this case?
Well, of course, we continue to believe that the program is lawful and that the legislation is not necessary. However, we have committed to Senator Specter that if the legislation is passed, that the President would submit the program to the FISA court to test its constitutionality. We are still analyzing the opinion of the judge, but it would appear that if legislation were passed, that it would address some of the concerns raised by the judge in her opinion.
The plaintiffs, the ACLU, said this afternoon that they think that this ruling will impact the legislative debate on this issue, and I wondered if you agreed with that.
I think that's a matter, I think you need to ask members of Congress. Obviously, I suspect it'll play some kind of role, but it's kind of hard to predict at this moment, and in fact, how it's going to impact the discussion.
Judge Gonzalez, do you think this ruling will be upheld on appeal? And if it is, and if the program has to be terminated even temporarily, what do you think the impact is going to be on your ongoing intelligence activities?
We have confidence in the lawfulness of this program. That's why the appeal has been lodged. This is an important program. We have the leaders of the intelligence community who have testified to Congress that it's been effective in protecting America. And so we're going to do everything that we can do in the courts to allow this program to continue because it is effective, has been effective in protecting America.
Judge, following up on Terry's question, the Specter legislation, as I understand it, authorizes the consolidation of challenges to programs such as this in the FISA court. And I'm wondering, presumably that was was that an intention to avoid the sort of result that you're presented with today? And secondly, are you going to continue to push for that provision and effectively to nullify the judge's ruling? And do you think you'll meet any resistance, or how are you going to proceed on that?
Well, one of the problems, one of the challenges that we're facing is that we do have multiple litigation around the country on this issue, and it seems to me that it will create confusion if we have judges issuing rulings that are different in scope. And it is for that reason that we ask for a consolidation. And some of these cases have been consolidated. This particular case was not consolidated, and so we'll have to evaluate what the ramifications are of this decision vis-a-vis the other cases that have been consolidated. I think it makes sense if we can get all of this, get these questions before one central court like the FISA court, and we could have one decision. I think that would be beneficial.
More questions?
All right, so the Attorney General of the United States, Alberto Gonzales, making clear he disagrees strongly, as the White House did earlier, with this ruling by a federal judge in Michigan saying the warrantless wiretapping program of the National Security Agency unconstitutional. But it will continue, at least for the time being. Let's get some analysis from our senior legal analyst, Jeff Toobin. A major defeat potentially for the Bush administration, although in the short term, they did get a stay. They're not going to force the government from stopping to implement these warrantless wiretaps. How does that happen? If the judge, Jeff, rules that it's unconstitutional, why then allow it to continue as the appeal process goes forward?
Well, judges understand that declaring a major government program unconstitutional is a tremendous, important step, and they are usually willing to let the appeals process play out rather than shut a program down initially, and that's what happened here.
Because that clearly is something, that, at least a short-term gain from the administration's perspective. Walk us through the process. How is this legal battle going to unfold right now? Will it wind up presumably at the Supreme Court?
You know, I think almost certainly, because this is such a sprawling and disorganized series of lawsuits at this point, all based to try to determine the same thing, whether this warrantless wiretapping program is unconstitutional. This judge, today's opinion, said it was unconstitutional in very scathing terms. But this was a very liberal judge. You look at the sources she cites in her opinion, she almost exclusively cites other liberal judges. I am virtually certain that other courts will see this differently, and the only way to resolve those sorts of differences is to have it wind up in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. I think what's even more likely is that the Supreme Court may say, refuse to deal with this issue on the merits and say, look, we're going to let Congress deal with this, try to sort it all out, then figure out what's going to happen, rather than decide a case of this magnitude on the very sketchy facts that are available about this program, because still, to this day, not a lot of detail is known about what kind of surveillance goes on in this warrantless way.
Well, one way of resolving it would be for Congress to enact new legislation giving the executive branch this kind of authority to go forward with the warrantless wiretaps. That's what Senator Specter, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, wants to do. But we just heard Alberto Gonzalez say they think this program is legal and no additional legislation is necessary. Who's going to win that fight?
Well, I do think that this opinion will strengthen Senator Specter's argument that Congress needs to step in and make a clear rule that is without a doubt constitutional. But, Wolf, as you know better than I, Congress is not doing much these days leading up to the election. It's very hard to get Congress to agree on anything, much less something as controversial as the struggle between individual liberty and national security. The odds against Congress coming together on something of that importance. At the same time, they have to deal with the question of how to handle the inmates at Guantanamo because of the Supreme Court decision, another legislative project that looks like it's going nowhere fast. Even though this will be a spur to Congress to try to resolve it, there doesn't seem to be much chance that Congress actually will resolve it before the election, which is only in 80-some days away.
Jeff Toobin, thanks very much. Jeff's going to be back with us later this hour. Let's check in with Jack Cafferty. He's in New York with the Cafferty File. Jack?
Well, you know, it seems like we're having this discussion about this judge's ruling sort of in the abstract, as though there's no precedent for what the judge decided. The judge, in effect, upheld the ruling of the FISA court, which says if you want to wiretap phones, you need a warrant to do so. The court was created by Congress in 1978, I think it was, and the law of the land says get a warrant. The actions of the administration have ignored the law of the land in that regard. So it's not a discussion in the abstract. It's not hypothetical. There are laws on the books against what the administration is doing. And it's about time somebody said it out loud. This federal district judge ruled today, President Bush is breaking the law by spying on people in this country without a warrant. The judge said the president is violating the First Amendment to the Constitution, the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, and the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, passed by Congress 1978, specifically to prevent this kind of abuse of power. It was being done before. That's why the FISA court was created in the first place. So what does this mean? It means President Bush violated his oath of office, among other things, when he swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States. It means he's been lying to us about the program since it started, when he's been telling us there's nothing illegal about what he's doing. A court has ruled it is illegal. And it means a 75-year-old black female judge in Michigan has finally stepped in and done the job that Congress is supposed to do, namely oversight of the executive branch of government. But the Congress is controlled by the Republicans, and they are controlled by the president, and they have done nothing in the way of oversight. I hope it means the arrogant inner circle at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue may finally have to start answering to the people who own that address. That would be us, about how they conduct our country's affairs. But we want to know what you think. Here's the question. What does a federal judge's ruling that the NSA spying program is illegal mean for President Bush? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf?
Jack, thanks very much. We're also going to speak in the next hour with the 9/11 co-chairman, the 9/11 Commission co-chairman, Tom Kane, Lee Hamilton, get their thoughts on this judge's ruling, the entire domestic spying program. Also coming up, much more on our top story, today's stunning ruling on domestic wiretapping. What does it mean for the war on terror and the political battle over national security? Bill Bennett and Donna Brazil, they're standing by for today's strategy session. And the new break in the JonBenet Ramsey case, the suspect's stunning confession, and what prosecutors are now saying about doing in Colorado. We're going to have a live report. And next, Lebanese troops moving south. We'll go live to Beirut to see if this fragile ceasefire right here in the Middle East will hold. Live from Jerusalem, you're in the Situation Room.
I try to do whatever I can to take care of my health. It's a very big part of who I am. So when I found out I had osteoporosis, I knew I had to meet it head on. Then my doctor told me about Boniva, how it helps build strong, healthy bones to prevent fractures with just 1 pill a month. And I thought, hey, I can do this. Unlike other treatments you have to take once a week, I only need Boniva once a month.
You should not take Boniva if you have low blood calcium, severe kidney disease, or cannot sit or stand for at least 60 minutes. Follow dosing instructions carefully. Stop taking Boniva and tell your doctor if you experience difficult or painful swallowing, chest pain, or severe or continuing heartburn, as these may be signs of serious upper digestive problems.
If you're as determined as I am to have strong, healthy bones, don't wait. Ask your doctor if Boniva is right for you. I'm so glad I did.
Once monthly Boniva. There's only one. Ask your doctor for a free trial offer or call 1-800-4-BONIVA.
CNN All New tonight at 10. The JonBenet murder suspect. Who is he? How did he get away? And what about that twisted ransom note? A 360.
VHIX.com helps people find the car they want at a dealer near them. How do we improve that user experience?
Every time you click on a link, new car smell comes out of your computer. You smell that? That's new.
And your idea?
VHIX TV, with helpful video buying guides that make online shopping more fun.
Helpful video buying guides, now at VHIX.com. Just click Autos on Comcast.net.
Yeah! Woohoo! Who's fast? I'm fast. Yes! Bang! Gotcha!
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Do you work here?
Yeah! I started back in April with, no. Look, please don't make me leave. My company only has DSL.
Make your office more productive with speeds up to twice as fast as DSL, McAfee security included free, and 24-hour support. Comcast Workplace. Speed, security, know-how.
Inside the JonBenet Ramsey arrest with Patsy Ramsey's sisters. Larry King, 9 Eastern.
Welcome back. We turn now to a very different kind of legal drama, a stunning arrest and confession in the 10-year-old murder of child beauty queen. John Mark Carr is being held in Thailand, where he told reporters he was with JonBenet Ramsey when she died and that her death was an accident. But authorities in Colorado cautioned today there is much more work to be done in this case. CNN's Ed Lavandera is joining us now live from Boulder. Ed?
Hi, Wolfel. If Boulder prosecutors had their way, nobody would be talking about John Carr today, but that is certainly not the case anymore after he was paraded before those cameras in Thailand and essentially confessing to the murder of JonBenet Ramsey. But prosecutors here given every opportunity to say that this is their man, that this is the person they've been looking for 10 years, didn't even come close to saying that. In fact, tempering much of the public opinion here in Boulder, saying that everyone needs to slow down, take a step back, and let the legal process work its way out.
We should all heed
the poignant advice of John Ramsey yesterday. He said, do not jump to conclusions, do not jump to judgment, do not speculate. Let the justice system take its course.
And there is a lot of questioning going on right now as to the credibility of John Carr. One thing in particular that's interesting to look at is that according to a police general in Thailand who told CNN that he had been told by an American investigator that John Carr admitted to drugging and having sex with JonBenet Ramsey before she was accidentally, quote, killed. But according to the autopsy report from JonBenet Ramsey 10 years ago, there were no drugs or alcohol in her system. So that's one of the things out there that is poking a little bit of holes in the credibility of John Carr at this point. Of course, it's very early, and there's still a lot of work to be done, as prosecutors here in Boulder are saying today. Wolf?
So, Ed, so what you're suggesting in terms of the credibility is there's some sense out there, and correct me if I'm wrong, that maybe this guy just made it up, claims to have murdered JonBenet Ramsey when in fact he didn't?
You know, everyone's kind of reading between the lines here, with the prosecutors being very tempered in their comments today, JonBenet Ramsey's father being very tempered, others who have had communication with John Carr, no one coming out and saying that this is the guy. Everyone's saying, let's slow the process down here. That has really turned the attention back on to John Carr and saying, all right, what is he saying exactly, and what proof does he have that he was the one that did this, besides being the one that's in front of the cameras, essentially confessing to such a crime. So really the focus is really kind of turned around here today onto him.
Thanks very much, Ed Lavandera on the scene. We're going to continue to watch the story. By the way, the public got a first glimpse of John Mark Carr in a remarkable and chaotic appearance before reporters in Thailand. With no lawyer on hand, Carr answered questions about where he was when JonBenet died and what happened to her. Take a listen. Here's some of what he said.
I love JonBenet and died accidentally. No.
What happened?
Her death was an accident.
So you were in the basement?
Yes.
And we'll have more on this case, the JonBenet Ramsey case, coming up in the next hour here in the Situation Room. Other important news we're following, especially here in the Middle East. The Lebanese army now making good on a key provision of the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hezbollah. About 2,000 troops marched across the Litani River today into areas of southern Lebanon that had been held until now by Israeli forces. Army officials say they hope the full contingent of some 15,000 Lebanese troops will be deployed in southern Lebanon by tomorrow morning. Another sign of the truth still holding. The first commercial flight landed back at Beirut International Airport since the war broke out. Israeli airstrikes had destroyed the runways, the airport's 3 runways during a month of fighting. Let's go live to Beirut. CNN's Jim Clancy on the scene for us with other developments. Jim?
All right, good evening from the Lebanese capital, Wolf. What the world saw today in Lebanon was really more the deployment of a country's political will than any military force. As you said, thousands of troops fanned out south of the Litani River. We could see those troops all over Lebanon making their way to the Bekaa Valley. They'll go down southward from there and deploy at Marjioun and other locations. Some of that deployment already completed. UNIFIL troops moving forward to take over Israeli positions. All of this aimed in a way to help the Israeli troops get out of Lebanon. The Lebanese soldiers were greeted with rose water and rice, flowers thrown at them in some places, applause from people that lined the roads. Many people believe that these troops should have been deployed 6 years ago when Israel initially withdrew from southern Lebanon. At the same time, as you noted, another sign Israel is easing up on Lebanon, at least in the air blockade. There were flights flying in and out of Beirut International Airport this day. One of them, a Middle East Airlines, that's the Lebanese flag carrier flight coming in from Amman, Jordan, with passengers and cargo. It made a round-trip flight back out to Amman. We understand Royal Jordanian is going to be flying in here soon, and there could be scheduled flights as soon as next week. One sad note in all of this, Wolf, and that is that there were 2 more casualties today. 2 children killed by a cluster bomb down very close to the border at Nahura. That, according to the United Nations. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Jim Clancy in Beirut with the latest, a very important story we're watching. And coming up, do stories like today's ruling on domestic wiretapping and last week's foiling of the airline terror plot have a political impact? We're going to take a closer look and see if either party is profiting right now. And next hour, much more in our top story. I'll ask the 2 top members of the 9/11 Commission about the domestic spying ruling. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
Pillaging was great this time of year, but with so many people switching to Capital One, we've taken jobs as camp counselors. Burnt a village to the ground, doodah, doodah. We're not exactly role models.
For low rates and great rewards, switch to Capital One.
What's in your wallet? Put your backs into it.
Would you like to consolidate bills and lower your monthly payments? Then call or log on to ditech.com. We can help you to get a new low fixed-rate mortgage that will pay off your current debts and lower your monthly payments by hundreds of dollars. Call 1-800-71-FIX.
Be brilliant and maximize the potential value of all the cash in your account. In other words, be king of cash. The Intelligent Cash Optimizer, only at E-Trade.
Back now to our top story. The Justice Department is appealing a court ruling today that the National Security Agency's warrantless wiretapping program is unconstitutional. It's a considerable legal and political blow to President Bush at a time when Americans are zeroing back in on the war on terror. The plaintiffs in the domestic wiretapping lawsuit include a coalition of civil rights organizations, lawyers, journalists, and educators. How is the surveillance program affecting their day-to-day jobs? Let's bring in our internet reporter, Abby Tatton. Abby?
Wolf, the ruling today stems from a lawsuit filed in January by groups and individuals who believed that their communications were being intercepted by the NSA, affecting their ability to do their jobs properly. These are individuals and groups who regularly communicate internationally, defense lawyers, some of whom represent people overseas suspected of terror crimes. Also, a writer and author of a book on the NSA who regularly communicates with sources in the Middle East and also conducts research online on jihadist websites. The court ruled today that the surveillance program has scared off some of these clients and sources, making it hard for these individuals to do their jobs. As we've heard, the Justice Department is appealing. We've put the lawsuit and today's ruling online at cnn.com/Situation Report. Wolf.
Abby, thank you. The war on terror has moved to the front burner as an issue in the congressional elections. But come November, are voters likely to cast their ballots with Homeland Security in mind? Our congressional correspondent, Dana Bash, is joining us now with some brand new poll numbers. Dana?
Well, Wolf, as soon as the news of the London terror plot broke, candidates in both parties started trading jabs, trying to take political advantage. We now know that Americans paid more attention to that foiled plot to blow up airplanes than any terror-related event since 9/11. Yet politicians may be surprised to learn this. The public is interested, but public attitudes about terrorism haven't changed.
According to a new poll from the Pew Research Center, 54% of Americans say they followed the London story very closely. With that kind of public focus and both parties trying to capitalize, you'd think the latest threat would make Americans more worried about terrorism. But it hasn't. Just 23% say they're very worried about a terror attack in the U.S. now, virtually the same as last summer. And so far, it hasn't changed the dynamic of the election, some 80 days away. A political indicator on the issue, approval of how the president is handling terrorism, went up only slightly, 50% now versus 47% in June.
The central front on the war on terror now is Iraq.
Ironically, the problem for Republicans is that line may be sticking. Pollster Andrew Kohut says Americans do see terrorism as intertwined with Iraq, a war they monitor closely, and now a mission they're more pessimistic about than ever before.
The war on terrorism was a predicate of public support for the war in Iraq. But with the war in Iraq not going well, it's another way of the public looking at the situation and saying, well, the war on terrorism isn't going all that well.
Nearly 7 in 10 people say they worry if Republicans keep control of Congress, the U.S. will become involved in too many military operations overseas. That's why Democrats continue to beat the political drum on Iraq. This new internet ad slams GOP candidates for supporting Bush's Stay the Course message. But there's a warning sign for Democrats, too. The strategy Republicans used to win the last 2 elections, painting Democrats as weak on national security, still resonates. 57% said they are either very or fairly concerned that Democrats would weaken efforts against terrorism if they controlled Congress. That's why you're going to keep hearing this.
They want us to leave. They want us to cut and run.
In a tough political environment for Republicans, national security is still the area in which they fare the best. But this poll shows voters are more interested this year about domestic issues, especially ones that hit their pocketbook the most, like gas prices. Wolf.
Dana, thank you. And today, some Democrats may be rethinking the Connecticut Senate race and the message it's sending about the politics of the war in Iraq. A new poll shows Democrat-turned-independent Joe Lieberman with a double-digit lead over Ned Lamont, who beat him in last week's Democratic primary. Let's bring in Mary Snow. Excuse me, she's covering the race. Mary?
Well, Wolf, fresh from his defeat in that Democratic primary comes a dramatic turn for Senator Joseph Lieberman, who now leads in a poll gauging the general election. But also we're seeing the divisions over Iraq are growing sharper. Shedding his Democrat-only coat, Senator Joseph Lieberman, as an independent, now has a 12-point lead over Ned Lamont, the Democrat who beat Lieberman in last week's primary.
I'm encouraged, but I'm ready for a tough fight.
In a new poll, Joseph Lieberman leads the three-way race with 53% of the vote to Ned Lamont's 41% among likely voters. Republican Alan Schlesinger trails with only 4%. The poll also shows Lieberman with overwhelming support among Republicans and a large lead among independents.
The Connecticut general election is really about independence, and Lieberman has to appeal to independent voters, he has to get their support, and he has to continue to display his independence from both parties.
Political observers say there is a risk to Lieberman if he appears too cozy with Republicans. And what appeared to be national GOP support is certainly drawing attention. This week, the White House declined to endorse the Republican candidate in the Connecticut Senate race. It's not endorsing Lieberman, but Vice President Dick Cheney went out of his way to praise the Senate veteran and take a jab at the Democrats who defeated him.
The Dean Democrats have defeated Joe Lieberman. Their choice instead is a candidate whose explicit goal is to give up the fight against the terrorists in Iraq.
That sparked a strong reaction from Ned Lamont.
I just tell Vice President Cheney that we don't need any sermons on the meaning of 9/11.
Lamont blasted Lieberman and Republicans for tying last week's thwarted terror plot to the Iraq war. At a rally last week, Lieberman said, quote, "If we just pick up like Ned Lamont wants us to, get out by a date certain, it will be taken as a tremendous victory by the same people who wanted to blow up these planes." And as Lamont fights back against the perception that Democrats are soft on national security, he's getting some support from some prominent Democrats. Later here today in New Haven, he'll be joined by former Senator John Edwards, and Senator John Kerry also launched an online fundraising effort for Lamont. Wolf?
Mary, thank you very much. Mary Snow and Dana Bash are part of the best political team on television. CNN, America's campaign headquarters. Up next, will Joe Lieberman have the last laugh over his fellow Democrats, Donna Brazile and Bill Bennett? They'll hash out the Connecticut Senate showdown in our strategy session. And they'll consider the political impact of the new ruling that the president's domestic spying program is unconstitutional. We're live from Jerusalem, and you're in the Situation Room.
For those who serve others, we serve you. We're TIAA-CREF. With our range of financial products and services, including personalized, objective advice, we have the expertise to help you plan for and live in retirement. So whatever stage you're at in preparing for your future, we can help. TIAA CREF, financial services for the greater good.
Money should be fat. It should be big. At HSBCDirect.com, we've created a way to make money into bigger money. HSBCDirect.com offers an online savings account with a 5.05% annual percentage yield. That's 8 times the national average. Making me money. Let your money grow big at HSBC. Brought to you by HSBC, the world's local bank. Member FDIC. Discover more at HSBCDirect.com.
It's unconstitutional and it has to stop. That's what a federal judge says about the NSA's warrantless wiretapping program. The government says it couldn't disagree more. Joining us now from Washington in our strategy session, CNN contributor and Democratic strategist Donna Brazile, and CNN contributor and Morning in America host Bill Bennett of the Claremont Institute. What do you make, let me start with you, Bill, of this federal judge's ruling saying this whole NSA domestic surveillance program is unconstitutional and must stop?
It's one judge's ruling. They got to stay on it. It'll go on appeal. My prediction, pretty confident, will be turned down. Richard Posner and other judges have said this program is legal. I don't think Democrats want to make an issue of this either. Your own Jeff Toobin, legal analyst, said this was a liberal judge quoting other liberal judges. The reality of it, quite apart from the politics, is that we run programs which are more restrictive, more tight, not as liberal as what they do in England. England can do far more things than we can. They just broke that plot. We got a judge saying we have to be more restrictive than we are. I don't think it's going to fly in the courts, and I don't think it flies in the court of common sense.
When we asked the American public about this program back in May, Donna, 44% thought the Bush administration wiretaps of suspected terrorists without court order were right. 50% thought it was wrong. The country pretty almost evenly split on this issue, pretty much divided.
Well, look, Wolf, there's no question that this is a setback for the Bush administration. For the second time this year, they've heard from a federal judge that they need to get their secret programs under the law. All Inspector, who's a Republican and chairman of the Judiciary Committee, is trying to work out a compromise with the White House. At the same time, the White House should read this ruling and to see some of the flaws in the program and to bring it under the law so that we can continue to monitor the terrorists, but at the same time, we should do it with the basic framework of our civil liberties intact.
Well, I mean, you saw how...
The whole... Yeah, go ahead, Bill. Go ahead and respond.
You saw how quickly the Justice Department got after this in response. I think this is a fight the Justice Department would seek. You know, some of those early polls, people thought this was a program in which the government was listening in on all their telephone calls. When things were clarified, polls looked a little better. But again, look at the context. Look at the situation in which we're in. Do we want to give the government the opportunity to listen to calls, to intercept calls between Americans and people overseas who are suspected of terrorism? I mean, I just think this is, whatever the polls say, and the polls, I think, when people understand, will be slam dunk, use that expression again, for the president. Apart from that, the reality, the dictates of the current situation in terrorism require us to do this kind of thing.
As far as the broader war on terrorism, Donna, that Pew Center poll that came out recently asked if the American public was concerned that Democratic Congress would weaken the U.S. on terrorism. 57% said yes, 40% said no. On this issue of being tough and fighting terrorists, the Democrats, at least historically, have been perceived as having a problem.
Well, Bush, first of all, we've narrowed the gap. For a long time, the Republicans had almost a 30-point advantage on national security. Today, in some polls that I've seen, we're down 8 points on national security. Look, Democrats will not be swift-footed on national security. Democrats are prepared to not only challenge the administration on their record on fighting terror, but also to offer our own ideas on ways that we can bring our troops home safely as soon as possible. But back to this ruling, I just got to say one thing. We're a nation of laws, and while this program is important to the country and an important tool in fighting terrorism, it's important that it's also under some law, and FISA is the law, and that's the law the administration should protect and uphold.
The Constitution is
Bill
not...
Bennett, let's
yeah.
talk about the Lieberman race, the Lieberman-Ned Lamont race in Connecticut. The new Quinnipiac University poll out today has Lieberman at 53%, Ned Lamont at 41%, the Republican candidate down at 4%, Schlesinger barely showing up at all. What do you see unfolding from Lieberman's defeat in the Democratic primary, though now he appears to be the front runner?
Is that for me?
Yes.
For me. Well, you know, Stu Rothenberg was just on your show, Wolf, talking about how this is a race for the independent voter. Could you have a better candidate, you know, a better designed candidate for the independent voter than Joe Lieberman? That's what he appeals to. He's obviously not a loyal Republican on every issue and obviously not a loyal Democrat on every issue. So if this is a race for the independent, Joe Lieberman's in very good shape. The Republican's not going anywhere. By the way, just one last thing. We are a nation of laws, but Justice Jackson said the Constitution is not a suicide pact. It isn't, and I think this decision will be reversed.
All right, Don, I'll give you the last word on the Lieberman-Lamont race. Some are already suggesting if this poll holds up, this is a win-win for the Democrats. If Lamont wins, he's a Democrat. If Lieberman wins, he may technically be an independent, but in his heart, he's also a Democrat. What do you think?
Well, first of all, let me just say that Ned Lamont is rallying Democrats, but in addition to bringing Democrats back to the table, those who supported Joe Lieberman, it's clear that he has to go after independents and any disaffected Republicans that might appeal to his message on so many issues. But I think this is going to be a dogfight to the bitter end. And I do believe that Ned Lamont will come out victoriously if he can reach out. Now, I have to say, going back to this decision, there's no question that the judge ruling is very broad, very comprehensive. But she said that the president's powers are also derived from the Constitution. So I'm going to stick with the Constitution and not with the Bush administration on this one.
Constitution is what the last judges
Donna
who appeal
Brazil
say
and
it is.
Bill Bennett. We got to leave it there, Bill.
Okay.
We got to leave it there, Bill, unfortunately.
Okay.
But both of you are part of the best political team on television, CNN America's campaign headquarters. There's a story just coming into CNN here in the Situation Room. Zane Verghese watching it. Zane, what's going on?
Wolf, the Associated Press is reporting that a spokesman for the FBI is saying now that one of two containers that tested positive for explosives at Tri-State Airport in Huntington, West Virginia, contained a gel-like facial cleanser. Now, the FBI is saying that the female passenger carrying the items is just being questioned for now. This person has not been arrested. As you know, Wolf, the airport was evacuated on Thursday after the woman's luggage, the carry-on luggage, tested positive for explosives. About 100 people or so were evacuated. She was trying to board a plane, a U.S. Airways plane, to Detroit. We'll bring you more details about this story when we get them, Wolf.
Thank you very much, Zane, for that. And coming up, a deadly bombing in Baghdad as Iraq's government releases new figures about the toll of violence. And the toll is enormous. We're going to tell you what's going on. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad.
Be good.
Bye.
So what do you want to do with the room?
In any room. With every style. No matter what you try. One carpet will always look great.
Just in case.
Yeah, just in case.
Stainmaster carpet. Always stylish, always beautiful.
Work on that left hand.
Thanks for the dress, Mom.
Simple, everyday moments can be the perfect time to talk to your kids about not smoking, so you don't have to plan a big discussion.
Look, there's a dragonfly on one of the little houses.
Is your leg? A little moment will do just fine. Talk to your kids about not smoking.
Smoking cigarettes can hurt your game too.
They'll listen.
Don't worry, Dad. I won't.
For conversation starters, log on to philipmorrisusa.com.
There are more than 29 million Americans without insurance who need help paying for their medicines. That's why there's the Partnership for Prescription Assistance. Through this free service, people who need help can call 1-888-4PPA now to see if they may qualify. Many get their medicines for free or nearly free, and I'm talking more than 2,500 brand name and generic medicines. Do you need help? Write down the number you see. It's your medicine. It's your life. It's your time to call.
Welcome back. We're following other stories making news right now, including in Iraq on a sweltering day in Baghdad. A bomb ripped through a marketplace in a Shiite neighborhood today. The attack killed 3 people. This comes as the Iraqi Health Ministry released figures showing more than 3,400 Iraqis were killed last month. That makes July the deadliest month for civilians since the Iraq War began back in March 2003. A roadside bombing killed a U.S. soldier south of Baghdad today. The number of U.S. military deaths in Iraq now stands at 2,604. Up next, is the Bush administration's wiretap program unwarranted, or is it an essential tool in the war on terror? Your thoughts about today's court ruling and what it means for President Bush. That's coming up next in the Cafferty File. And has a 10-year murder mystery finally been resolved? The latest in the JonBenet Ramsey investigation and the suspect in custody. All that's coming up in the next hour right here in the Situation Room.
The Mercury Mariner is the SUV that proves you don't have to give up anything to get everything. Looks and performance that are winning over Honda CR-V and Toyota RAV4 owners. Make that ex-owners. Need more power? Go for the V6. The compact SUV has never been in better shape. Mercury Mariner.
Now get Mercury Mariner, a Consumer's Digest Best Buy 2 years running with $2,500 cash back plus $500 Ford credit cash.
You've got to put Mercury on your list.
Michael Jackson scandals keep coming. Is the king of pop being forced into bankruptcy? The latest on Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace, Headline Prime, tomorrow 8 Eastern.
VHIX.com helps people find the car they want at a dealer near them. How do we improve that user experience?
Every time you click on a link, new car smell comes out of your computer. You smell that? That's new.
And your idea?
VHIX TV, with helpful video buying guides that make online shopping more fun.
Helpful video buying guides, now at VHIX.com. Just click Autos on Comcast.net.
People would pay to watch me saw a woman in half. Of course, it's just a trick. Sometimes people like to be fooled, but not when they purchase a vehicle. They don't want phony come-ons or bait and switch. That's why Saturn of Salem has so many happy customers. You get an unbeatable deal straight up, and our commitment to your complete satisfaction. The best Saturns ever built and the best customer service. You'll find it at Saturn of Salem.
Want a better job? Ready to make a move? Start your search for a better local job right now at PortlandJobFinder.com. That's where you'll find local employers that are searching for your talents, skills, and experience. PortlandJobFinder.com is easy to use and totally free for job seekers. Log on now to view hundreds of detailed job listings, upload your resume, and find a better job today. PortlandJobFinder.com. It's free for job seekers and good for business.
Cartoon Network asks, who's your favorite imaginary friend?
Oh boy, this is gonna be good!
Is it Blue?
This is the best day of my life!
Eduardo?
I like potatoes.
Maybe it's Blue.
The ultimate in cool.
Could it be Coco? Or maybe it's Blue? Wait, did Blue write this?
Yeah, no kidding.
I thought so. See all your favorites on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Weeknights on Cartoon Network.
The Footsteps of Bin Laden premieres CNN Wednesday, August 23rd.
Let's go to Jack Cafferty in New York. He's got the Cafferty File. Jack?
Hi, Wolf. Nice new jacket you have on there. Your wardrobe is improving the longer you're in Jerusalem. I like that. Question this hour: what does a federal judge's ruling that the NSA spying program is illegal mean for President Bush? We got a ton of mail. Donna in New York, it's about time someone pointed out the emperor has no clothes. Now if only Congress would do its job and stop this abomination, this assault on our Constitution. We are less safe under this administration. The systematic destruction of our rights will do more to destroy America than any terrorist or group of terrorists. Carla in Alabama, if his flunkies can have the ruling overturned, it means nothing to him. However, he's a fool if he doesn't realize the American people know what he's been up to and that a large majority of us resent his continual efforts to strip away our freedoms. No matter what the courts say, Bush and those like him are on their way out. Bob in Virginia, it should not mean anything but politics by Judge Taylor, who was, surprise, appointed by President Carter, the same president who fathered the ousting of the Shah and the beginning of the Islamic Revolution. Laura in Connecticut, that a federal court has now paved the way for the impeachment of President Bush. He better find himself a really, really good attorney. Tom in Connecticut, Jack, you're so biased and off base, the ruling means nothing because the appeals process is not complete. Sit tight. I'm sure you'll be proven wrong. Jim in Pennsylvania, I don't know what they feed you on that vacation of yours, but the whole nation could use a shot of it. Way to go. And Woodford writes, jail to the chief. Wolf.
Thanks. Glad you like the jacket, Jack Cafferty. We'll continue this conversation in the next hour. We'll take a quick break. There's been a development in the Barry Bonds case. That's coming up. Zane Verjee standing by. We're in the Situation Room. Stay with us.
Closed captioning provided by Activon. Apply directly where it hurts.
New from the makers of Head-On. Introducing Activon. Arthritis pain? Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Arthritis. In stores now.
The engine is connected to the tool. The tool is connected to the hand. The hand is connected to the body. The body is connected to the mind. The mind is connected to the heart.
All across America, innerspring mattresses are becoming victims of a sleep revolution because every 2 minutes, someone switches from an ordinary mattress to the Sleep Number bed by Select Comfort. Hi, I'm Lindsay Wagner, and just like 3 million others, when I switched to the Sleep Number bed, I definitely slept better. Why don't you give us a call for a free DVD or a video and brochure? You'll learn how on a Sleep Number bed you can easily set the firmness and comfort to what feels best to you. We call this ideal setting your Sleep Number. It gives you a bed that's customized for you.
With the Sleep Number bed, because I can adjust it with the remote control, I feel like I have a custom-made mattress.
Even clinical research proved that on a Sleep Number bed, you can fall asleep faster, sleep more soundly, and wake up more refreshed. Because you can set the firmness and comfort independently on each side of the bed, couples tell us it's the perfect bed.
I like the fact that with the Sleep Number bed, my husband can choose his level of firmness, and so can I, and it's not necessary to compromise. We're both very comfortable.
If you find you wake up with a backache, 93% of back pain sufferers reported relief on this remarkable bed.
Now that I have the Sleep Number bed, my back pain doesn't exist. It doesn't happen anymore.
All this comfort is thanks to a gentle cushion of air that conforms to the unique curves of your body for better support and more proper spinal alignment. There's only one authentic Sleep Number bed, and it costs about the same as a traditional innerspring mattress, but in head-to-head comparisons is twice as durable. No other mattress compares to the Sleep Number bed. Call us right now to learn more about the Sleep Number bed by Select Comfort. You'll be glad you did.
For your free, no-obligation Sleep Number bed information kit and complete price list plus details about our risk-free 30-night in-home trial, call 1-800-614-6200. Queen-size Sleep Number bed sets are as low as $20 a month. That's 1-800-614-6200. Call now.
With the fall elections and 2008 in mind, one political party is stepping up the criticism of the nation's largest company. Our senior analyst, Jeff Greenfield, has the story. Jeff?
Wolf, it may not be the most noble of notions, but one of the most useful assets for any politician is the right adversary. Illegal immigrants, corporate polluters, street criminals, lazy bureaucrats, welfare cheats, rich tax cheats, sure. But what about a store?
Walmart's formula as to how they can survive is a race to the bottom.
That's Senator Joe Biden, potential presidential candidate. He appeared at a rally in Des Moines, Iowa, site of the first presidential caucuses, not so incidentally. The day before, Senator Evan Bayh, another likely presidential candidate, also denounced Walmart's wage and benefit structure as emblematic of the middle-class squeeze. Senators John Kerry and John Edwards have also been critical, and Senator Hillary Clinton who was once on the board of Walmart back in her former Arkansas home, returned a $5,000 contribution from the company. The targeting of the nation's largest private employer has gone beyond political soundbites. State and local governments, Chicago, New York City, Maryland, for example, have passed so-called big box laws that would require huge stores, often affecting only Walmart or one or two others, to provide higher wages and health benefits to their workers. A judge has struck down Maryland's law, saying it violated a federal employee benefit rule. And Mayor Daley has hinted he may veto the city council's bill in Chicago. Walmart, for its part, calls these efforts a short-sighted political strategy that will backfire, and pointedly notes that it is our responsibility to let our employees know when a politician speaks out for or against our company. So what's going on here? On the one hand, lower-income shoppers benefit from Walmart's low prices. On the Friday after Thanksgiving last year, 10 million Americans shopped at Walmart in 6 hours. On the other hand, Walmart's wage and benefit structure and its troubles over hiring illegal immigrants and charges that some workers have been forced to work off the clock have made it and its 1.3 million workers target number one for organized labor. Unions have seen a sharp decline in their roles in recent decades, especially among private sector workers. And organized labor, in return, remains one of the key elements of the Democratic Party's financial and voter turnout base. And as for the Democrats, they've seen a steady erosion in their blue-collar working-class support. Once upon a time, Democratic icons trumpeted their opposition to wealthy interests.
The money changers have fled from their high seats in the temple of our civilization.
After President Kennedy battled U.S. Steel over price hikes, he said this when asked if he was worried that big business had him where they wanted.
I can't believe I'm where big business wants me.
But in recent years, national security and traditional values issues have changed voter patterns. In 2004, Bush beat Kerry among blue-collar, low- and middle-income whites 54-46. This year, Democrats seem to believe they can win back many of these voters by hitting basic bread-and-butter issues, low wages, health care, and they appear to believe they can turn the symbol of low prices into a symbol of economic injustice. Wolf?
Thank you, Jeff. And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room, where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Standing by CNN reporters across the United States and around the world to bring you today's top stories. Happening now, it's 5 p.m. in Detroit, where a federal judge brings the hammer down on the Bush administration's domestic spying program. The ruling orders a halt to eavesdropping on Americans without warrants. The White House fighting right back right now. Shocking revelations from the man facing charges in the decade-old killing of Jean-Benet Ramsey. It's 3 p.m. in Boulder, Colorado, where the district attorney warns there is much more work to do in the case. And it's midnight here in the Middle East, where Lebanese troops are taking over territory captured by Israeli forces. But will they take on Hezbollah? Did Israel suffer from an intelligence failure in Lebanon? I'll ask a former Israeli spy chief. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Jerusalem. You're in the Situation Room. A damaging blow today to the Bush administration's anti-terror program. A federal judge in Detroit ruled that the wiretapping of Americans without court orders unconstitutional. The judge ordered an immediate halt to the domestic spying operation carried out by the National Security Agency. The Justice Department, though, is appealing. Our White House correspondent Elaine Quijano is standing by with reaction from there. But let's begin with our Justice correspondent, Kelly Arena. Kelly?
Wolf, this is the first judge to strike down the NSA's program, saying that the public interest is clear.
Government officials point to the alleged plot to blow up jetliners over the Atlantic as a primary example of why the U.S. government sometimes needs to listen in on international communications without a warrant. But a federal judge in Detroit says the National Security Agency's controversial wiretapping program violates free speech and privacy rights.
We're enormously gratified by the historic ruling of the federal district court today. Clearly, the judge agreed with our arguments that the president had overstepped his powers as the chief executive, that no one is above the law, not even the president.
The NSA is monitoring phone calls and other communications between people in the U.S. and others overseas when one of the parties is suspected of a terrorist link. The American Civil Liberties Union filed a lawsuit on behalf of lawyers, academics, and journalists like Jim Bamford, who say that some of the people they talk to could fit that description. They argue the possibility of the government eavesdropping interferes with doing their jobs. Bush administration officials insist that the wiretapping program is well within the president's authority.
It is a program that is reviewed periodically for its continued effectiveness. It is reviewed periodically to ensure that it remains lawful. It has been very important for the security of our country.
In court, government lawyers have argued that to even talk about the program would mean revealing state secrets. And if the ruling is upheld, some government supporters say the impact would be breathtaking.
That would be an enormous limitation on the ability of the United States to conduct its foreign relations and to fight wars.
The Justice Department was quick to appeal this ruling. What's more, it won't take immediate effect, so the judge can hear a justice request for a stay. Wolf?
Kelly Arena, thank you very much. And arguing that the surveillance program is a vital tool against terrorism, the White House says it will appeal this court ruling. Let's go to CNN's Elaine Quijano. She's standing by with more on that. Elaine?
And Wolf, the Bush administration is strongly defending this program as legal and necessary. In fact, even before today's ruling, President Bush just this week, in comments at the State Department on Monday, singled out this very program as a vital tool in the terrorism fight. Well, today we are hearing that from the White House once again. White House Press Secretary Tony Snow in a statement saying, quote, "We couldn't disagree more with this ruling, and the Justice Department will seek an immediate stay of the opinion and appeal. The terrorist surveillance program is firmly grounded in law and regularly reviewed to make sure steps are taken to protect civil liberties." Now, President Bush himself was asked about today's ruling as he left the White House today on the South Lawn on his way to the presidential retreat at Camp David. He did not comment on it, but in that statement from Tony Snow, the administration is pointing directly to that recently foiled British terror plot as an example of why the administration says that this particular surveillance program is so necessary. Meantime, of course, all of this happening against the backdrop of those midterm elections just some 80 days away. Democrats are pouncing, accusing the Bush administration of a power grab, and Democratic Senate Leader Harry Reid saying in a statement that today's ruling, he says, is the latest example of how the Bush administration has jeopardized efforts in the war on terror. Wolf?
Elaine, thank you very much. Is the domestic surveillance program really necessary to stop terrorist attacks? Coming up, I'll speak with the leaders of the 9/11 Commission, Tom Kane and Lee Hamilton. That's coming up right here in the Situation Room. Let's check in with Zane Vergy. She's got a closer look at some other important stories making news right now. Zane?
Wolf, the Tri-State Airport in Huntington, West Virginia was evacuated today. The TSA says 2 containers and a woman's carry-on bag tested positive for explosives. The woman was going through screening at the airport this morning while trying to board a U.S. Airways flight. The FBI is questioning her. The Associated Press is reporting that an FBI spokesman says one of the containers contained a gel-like facial cleanser. A woman whose erratic behavior caused a transatlantic flight to be diverted to Boston from Washington yesterday is going to remain in custody until a court hearing next week. Court documents say the woman was biting her fingers and made possible references to Al-Qaeda and urinated on the cabin floor of United Flight 923. The flight landed safely with fighter jet escorts after the pilot declared an emergency on board. The woman's attorney says that she has mental health problems. An apparent big court victory for the federal government in its multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against the tobacco industry. A federal judge just last hour ordered tobacco companies to admit that they lied about the harmful effects of smoking and to warn consumers that tobacco is addictive. The judge also reportedly ruled that big tobacco must pay to help smokers kick the habit. And a federal judge is ordering Barry Bonds' personal trainer to testify before a grand jury or face jail time. Greg Anderson has to appear before the grand jury at this hour. He was released from prison just last month after 15 days when he refused to testify. Government lawyers are investigating whether Bonds lied under oath when he said that he didn't know if he'd been given steroids. And Mel Gibson won't have to serve time in jail for his DUI arrest. The actor-director pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor drunken driving charge today. The LA District Attorney's Office says Gibson will receive 3 years probation. He's also got to pay $1,300 in fines and attend AA meetings. Gibson publicly apologized for making anti-Semitic comments when police pulled him over last month. Wolf?
Thank you, Zane. Let's go to Jack in New York. Jack?
Wolf, the worms are beginning to crawl across the room to the other side of the aisle. Since there seems to be a pretty good chance the Democrats might capture at least one chamber of Congress in the midterm elections, the Washington lobbyists are out in force trying to hire Democrats to work for them. The weasels of K Street wasting no time positioning themselves to be able to suck favors and money out of the new Congress, whoever controls things. And of course, if the Democrats do win, they'll be in a position then to be as sleazy and corrupt as the Republicans. Want to bet they don't take the high road? One lobbyist told the Washington Post, quote, "Democrat stock has clearly risen." He adds that serious hiring of Democrats has become a high priority. Swell. The majority of companies already hire lobbyists from both parties, but for years they've emphasized Republicans because that's who's had control of both Congress and the White House, at least in recent years. So here's the question. What does it mean if lobbyists are out trying to hire more Democrats? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf?
Did you say worms, Jack? I just want to make sure I got that right.
I said worms, Wolf. That's what they are.
Yeah, got it right. Thank you, Jack. Jack Cafferty in New York. Up ahead, he says he was there when she died and that he's not innocent. The man accused of murdering JonBenet Ramsey, he's out with some stunning confessions, but is he actually telling the truth? And during the Middle East conflict, what were two soldiers on opposite sides of the conflict doing sharing a cup of tea? And what is the fallout from that? And what are the practical implications of this new ruling against the Bush administration's domestic spying program? I'll ask the two chairmen of the 9/11 Commission, Lee Hamilton and Tom Kean. They're coming up.
Clayton Dow Megwalai. I hope I said that right. I'm Matt Tucker. Welcome to America.
Oh, you're Chinese in school.
I worked on it all morning.
Century 21.
I had a patient who called. He had picked up a prescription at the store, and when he got home, he read the directions, which read, take 1/2 tablet daily. He called us and told us that he had Parkinson's, and because of the tremors, he had a hard time cutting the pills. So I offered to come at the end of the day and cut the tablets for him. He had tears in his eyes. He was like, thank you so much for doing this. I'm Lorelei Lectera, and I'm a CVS pharmacist.
My name is Leonard Ross. I was born in 1906.
The Dust Bowl, the Depression, and 2 world wars. That's just a few of the things Rosie Ross has seen in his lifetime. Through it all, he's had 2 great loves, music and his own independence.
If it's Friday, I'm playing at the Pinecone Inn.
Long-term care insurance from Genworth Financial can help you live on your own terms in your own home, receiving covered benefits where and when you choose. Genworth Financial, insurance for living, solutions for life.
Now at Office Depot, you'll find an HP computer everyone will love. Use it to watch movies, to manage your music collection, or for work. The HP Pavilion with Intel Pentium 4 processor 524, 17-inch LCD flat panel monitor, and HP DeskJet 3915 color printer. Only $569.98 after mail-in savings. Exclusively at Office Depot.
Taking care of business.
You're the generation that's redefining retirement from this to this. We hear you. We are the personal advisors of Ameriprise Financial, and we're redefining the personal financial planning to help get you there, starting with the Dream Book, a new way to plan for retirement beyond the numbers. To get your free Dream Book, call 1-800-AMERIPRISE. Then an Ameriprise Financial advisor can help you focus on what you want to do and how to do it on your terms.
It's one of the most notorious whodunits in recent memory. Now police hope they're one step closer to knowing what really happened to 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey, beaten and strangled one day after Christmas in 1996. A man is now admitting some involvement in her murder, but is he actually telling the truth? We have two reports. Ed Lavandera standing by in Boulder, Colorado, but let's begin with CNN's Brian Todd in Washington. Brian?
Wolf, a Homeland Security attaché at the U.S. Embassy in Thailand, tells CNN John Mark Carr will face charges for kidnapping, sexually assaulting, and murdering JonBenet Ramsey. Who is John Mark Carr, and what was he doing in Thailand? New details from the district attorney in Boulder, Colorado.
Mr. Carr was living in Bangkok. He began his employment as a second-grade teacher in the international school system in Bangkok on Tuesday morning of this week.
A Homeland Security official tells CNN he doesn't believe Carr's new job influenced the timing of the arrest. But according to CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin,
the clear implication of the district attorney's statement was that he was arrested now because they feared he would molest the children he was teaching in Bangkok or that he might flee.
But when cameras caught up with him, Carr wasn't shy.
Are you an innocent man?
No.
What happened?
Her death was an accident.
So you were in the basement?
Yes.
But Carr's ex-wife Laura tells CNN affiliate KGO Carr was with her in Alabama during the entire Christmas season of 1996, when JonBenet Ramsey was found dead at the Ramsey home in Boulder. And there are other inconsistencies. A Thai police official says he was told by an American investigator that Carr said he drugged and had sex with the child before accidentally killing her. But according to JonBenet's autopsy, no drugs were found in her body. But Carr does have a history with the law and children. According to divorce documents obtained by CNN, he split with his wife after local police in California investigated Carr for possessing child pornography. Law enforcement officials tell CNN Sonoma County Police arrested Carr in 2001, but Carr posted bail and never returned. The divorce papers say Laura Carr sought to keep Carr away from their 3 children and secured a restraining order. And in the documents, she claims Carr couldn't serve as a substitute teacher in Alabama in the late 1990s because he was too affectionate with children. And what of Carr's ties to the Ramsey family? JonBenet's father, in an interview, says he does not know Carr. Carr tells the Associated Press he wrote to JonBenet's mother, Patsy, before she died of cancer, apologizing for what happened, insisting JonBenet's death was an accident. Carr is expected to be brought back to the United States within a week. Wolf?
Thank you, Brian. As a beauty queen contestant, little JonBenet Ramsey was well known in her Colorado community. So at the time of her murder, many in that community felt a personal sense of shock. How many in Boulder are experiencing some of those same feelings once again right now? Let's bring in Ed Lavandera. He's on the scene for us. Ed?
Well, you know, this is a case that was brought so many intense headlines and so many headlines that many people in this community just did not welcome here, that it is something that annoys a lot of people to a certain level, and they're, you know, bringing all this back isn't something that a lot of people want to see, but it is back, and it is something that the Ramsey family has been waiting for quite some time. They moved away from here in the years since the murder here in Boulder, but now the attention is on the prosecution and the attorneys going after John Mark Carr and building their case against him. Right now, what we have is just a lot of swirling information as to what exactly John Carr knows and what exactly he did or might not have done. It's not exactly clear. We have heard from and his ex-wife, who says they were together in Alabama that Christmas season 10 years ago. His family in Georgia says it's ridiculous. There's no way he could have been involved. And even as you mentioned, Brian Todd mentioned that John Ramsey does not remember ever knowing John Carr at this point. So, and even the law professor who turned over John Carr's name to authorities who had been emailing with this guy for 2 years isn't revealing a lot of information from his correspondence with John Carr that he's had over the last 2 years.
Is there a single thing that prompted you to say, okay, I got to go to the cops now?
There was, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. It was one particular thing, yeah.
Was it a detail that hadn't been reported?
No,
That's what
no.
they're saying, that he knew parts of this crime that hadn't been reported
No,
out.
I'm not going to comment on that. There was one particular thing.
Wolf, the mood kind of changed here this afternoon after the prosecutors held their press conference at about 10 a.m. local time, after prosecutors given every opportunity, as we've reported, to mention that John Carr was their man, that this was the person they were confident committed these crimes, really backing away from any language close to that. That has really kind of turned the attention here back onto John Carr and questioning the credibility of the story that he released today in Thailand. Wolf?
I guess that credibility would be strengthened if they had a DNA match. Is there any indication they do have a DNA match?
We don't have any indication that has happened yet. And another thing to remember as well, too, is that a handwriting sample, we would imagine that in the coming weeks would become a major factor as well. Remember, there was a ransom note left in the Ramsey home when JonBenet Ramsey was murdered. So you know that their attorneys, defense attorneys, are going to want to see a handwriting sample to compare John Carr's handwriting to that ransom note.
Ed Lavandero, thanks very much. The 41-year-old teacher arrested in Thailand possesses ties to California and to Georgia. And now we're picking up some online clues concerning John Mark Carr's whereabouts over the past few years. Our internet reporter Abby Tatton has been digging for details. Abby?
Wolf, resumes in John Carr's name have been posted to job websites for international teaching opportunities. Here's a resume for John Carr, his photo in the corner next to a young girl of elementary school age. We don't know who that girl is. The resume, if you read it through, puts Carr in Honduras from 2004-2005 teaching second grade. Before that, in Western Europe, in the Netherlands, in Germany. It says he took special attention changing, feeding and bathing a baby for the family that he worked for. From 1996 to 2001, the resume puts John Carr in the United States at prestigious schools, it says, although it doesn't say where. There's no indication that Carr got a job with these resumes through any of these sites. While Carr has been arrested, he is still presumed innocent. Wolf.
Abby, thanks very much. Coming up, normal signs of life after the raging war. Things are slowly returning back to normal in Lebanon. Today, we're seeing one important sign of all of that at Beirut's airport. And in another post-war review, did Israel's Foreign Intelligence Service, that would be the Mossad, underestimate the threat posed by Hezbollah? I'll ask a former chief of the Mossad. That's coming up.
What do you get when a financial firm with 70,000 people in 50 countries takes the time to understand your needs as if it's just the two of you? Could it be the most powerful two-person financial firm in the world? You and us, UBS.
Head on, apply directly to the forehead. Head on, apply directly to the forehead. Head on, apply directly to the forehead. Head on is available without a prescription at retailers nationwide.
New from the makers of Head On, introducing Activon. Joint and muscle pain, Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Joint and Muscle, in stores now.
Freedom from hemorrhoids? Freedom Hemorrhoid Cream. For effective relief of hemorrhoid pain, itching, burning, and swelling. Freedom from hemorrhoids? Freedom Hemorrhoid Cream. Available at major drugstores nationwide.
Ditech.com can save you thousands of dollars in closing costs.
With our previous refinances, we ended up paying a lot in closing costs. This time, we went to Ditech, and it was only $395.
Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
We get you to a V. Viactive gets that staying healthy and strong is your goal, so we give you 2 delicious ways to get there. Viactive multivitamin chews and also calcium chews for one strong you.
Saturday, CNN cuts through the fog of war and gets to the truth. From the battlefront to the home front, CNN makes sense of the war. This week at War, CNN says...
Would you travel to a faraway city for your family to take advantage of the latest diagnostic imaging technology? How far would you go to find experts who could provide the most precise information available? Would you go all the way to Baseline Imaging, the new outpatient center in Hillsborough? Baseline Imaging. We have the expertise. We have the technology.
Across America, Comcast helps the communities where our employees live and work. Each year, we award more than 1,000 scholarships to help worthy students follow their dreams. We provide $1 million to local reading programs, and over 30,000 volunteers participate in Comcast Cares Day each year. In these and many other ways, Comcast helps our communities far and wide, knowing that this makes our world a better place. Comcast, your neighborhood is our neighborhood.
Inside the Sean Benet Ramsey arrest with Patsy Ramsey's sisters. Larry King, 9 Eastern.
Welcome back. Here in the Middle East, troops are on the move, but it's part of an effort to try to keep the fragile peace. The Lebanese army may be taking control of parts of southern Lebanon right now, but is it actually prepared to take on Hezbollah? Let's go live to our Beirut bureau chief, Brent Sadler. Brent?
Thanks, Wolf. A rapid deployment so far of some 12,000 of 15,000 Lebanese army troops pushing south from the Litani River into the former battle zones. Now, this deployment has been demanded by the Israelis, otherwise they wouldn't have withdrawn, it was threatened. So the armies moved pretty quickly, but they wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the acquiescence of Hezbollah, whose fighters in effect have already melted into the local population in there, and whose weapons, really their whereabouts, are still unknown. Hezbollah has said that it will neither take its fighters nor its rockets and other weaponry out of the south. Neither will the Lebanese army have any direct orders to go after those weapons or to go after fighters, as demanded by that ceasefire resolution. Another problem is that nations thinking about sending troops to bolster the United Nations interim forces in Lebanon now have something of a dilemma because of the fact that Hezbollah is still there. So that may take longer than expected to deploy those first contingents of an expected 15,000 international troops to police the south of Lebanon. In other encouraging signs, though, Beirut's international airport that was subjected to attacks by Israeli warplanes and gunboats just over a month ago reopened for several flights earlier today. This does not signal a complete lifting of the Israeli land, sea and air blockade, but it certainly is an easing of the situation. France was asking the Israelis, demanding the Israelis to lift those sieges, so this may be a first step in that direction. Meanwhile, 200,000 Lebanese, it's expected, have returned to their areas having been displaced by the war, and those areas that were subjected to the worst damage, estimated cost about $500 million in rebuilding some 15,000 homes, money that Hezbollah says it will put up. Wolf.
Thank you very much for that, Brent. Brett Sadler in Beirut. We're also learning about a strange encounter that took place on the battlefield in Lebanon, a timeout, if you will, for tea. Let's bring in our Zane Vergy. Zane?
Wolf, it was a strange tea party, one that has landed the host in hot water. Two enemy armies sharing a cup of tea and casual conversation as war raged all around. Lebanese and Israeli soldiers in the town of Marzeyoun were showing a bizarre camaraderie. It's August 10th. About 350 Lebanese troops are at this military base, 6 miles from the Israeli border. This edited videotape, shot by an unknown Israeli, shows Israeli troops and at least 2 tanks rolling into the base. There's no resistance, only white flags. Lebanon's Brigadier General Adnan Dawood, a Christian, is in charge and offers the Israelis tea. Then, on the tape, we hear this odd exchange. We need to brief our bosses on what happened, says Dawood. The Israeli commander says, we briefed Bush, you brief whoever you want. Dawood responds, we need to brief Bush too. On the video, we see Israeli soldiers checking ID cards. They spend the day with Dawood and his men. As the Lebanese convoy came out of Marzeyoun, a CNN crew asks Dawood what happened. Dawood says the Lebanese Interior Ministry ordered Lebanese troops to leave. Why didn't you fight, we asked, but the car had sped away. The acting Lebanese Interior Minister did give orders not to fight, saying the lightly armed troops were not a combat force, but a humanitarian protection force. Lebanese army intelligence sources tell CNN that Dawood has not been formally charged or arrested for treason, but an investigation is ongoing. And Wolf, those videotape images first aired on Israel's Channel 2 and then on Hezbollah's Al-Manar TV. Wolf?
All right, shows you that there's still a long, long way to go for these parties in the Middle East to reconcile and try to work something out. Appreciate it, Zane, very much. Good report. Coming up, unconstitutional. That's what a federal judge decides about the Bush administration's domestic spying program. And the judge says it must stop. So what are the practical implications of all of that? I'll ask the two leaders of the 9/11 Commission. And Iraq is exploding with death right now. More innocent Iraqis are dying, and so are more U.S. troops. Now, a new U.S. military report making some dire warnings about what will happen if the violence does not stop. Stay with us.
No matter how it starts, no matter how it ends, I won't let you down, I won't let you down. No matter where you've been, no matter where you go, I won't let you down, I won't let you down.
Introducing the world's smallest camera flip phone, the Pantech C300. Fully loaded, shrunk to fit. Only from Singular, raising the bar.
Honesty, privacy, respect, and great rates. That's why people who use eLoan are spreading the word. Those are just some of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan, radically simple.
When Kate came into Pearl Vision, I gave her eyes a complete optometric checkup. Then she found the perfect frames for her face and her style. They're Kate's eyes, but they're my responsibility.
Right now at Pearl Vision, get 50% off all lenses, including bifocals and no lines.
Orientation, 7th floor. Sign in, please.
If you're a new full-time employee.
We've got the Q4 numbers. Germany looks good.
A people-ready business knows that every person it hires is an investment. With the right software, they'll be ready to hit the ground running from day one.
Welcome back. While Israel's defense minister has named an inquiry commission to look into the handling of the difficult war with Hezbollah, there are also calls today for an independent investigation as Israelis ask, what went wrong? And joining us now here in Jerusalem, the former director of the Mossad, Israel's intelligence service, Ephraim Alevi. Mr. Alevi, thanks very much for coming in. A lot of people are pointing fingers here in Israel right now. First of all, based on what you know and the history that you have, was there an intelligence failure in Israel as to the capability, the military capability of Hezbollah?
I do not think there was an intelligence failure. I think over the years, information was collected of a wide range of sources, and I think that there was sufficient intelligence in the hands of those who needed it in order to use it when the time came.
Because a lot of people were surprised at how robust, how strong, how unified Hezbollah emerged over this 34-day war.
As far as I'm concerned, I was not surprised, and I don't think that colleagues of mine were surprised. I think it was known for over years that Hezbollah was a robust, capable, deadly enemy with a guerrilla capacity which was second to none.
Which suggests that the military, the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, or the political leadership, the prime minister, the defense minister, they got it wrong. They had the intelligence, but they didn't know what to do with it.
No, I don't think that was the case. I think that over the years there was a policy here not to confront Hezbollah for a variety of reasons, political and otherwise. And when the time came and when the powers that be in this country decided to move, they moved. I don't think that there was a problem here of a lack of intelligence or a lack of knowledge at the highest level.
Did Israel fully understand the sophistication, the weapons, the missiles, the rockets that Hezbollah was getting, presumably from Iran through Syria. For example, that one rocket that hit that ship early on in the war and knocked it out, that seemed to have caught the Israeli Navy by surprise.
It may have caught the Israeli Navy by surprise. I think that's an isolated case. But by and large, I think there was a good idea here of the capabilities of Hezbollah, the nature of the weaponry they had, the performance of the weaponry which they had, the sophistication of the weaponry they had. It was known that the Iranians and the Syrians were supplying Hezbollah with the best they could.
Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, we know, and Israeli officials have confirmed this, that Israel tried to take him out several times during this war. From your perspective as a former Mossad director, and presumably you've given the order to take out enemies of Israel on many occasions, is that a legitimate target to go after someone like Hassan Nasrallah?
Well, Hassan Nasrallah is the head of a terrorist movement. He's not just a political leader. And I think that in times of war, the way they were a month ago, in terms of the nature of the threat that he posed, I think that it was legitimate then to consider Nasrallah a target. As you know, his predecessor was targeted several years ago in 1992.
And he was killed.
And he was killed. And this, of course, set in motion a series of very, very serious bloody reactions. I think in this case, had we succeeded, had Israel succeeded, it could well be that there were similar reactions. But he is a very, very formidable foe, and he is a key figure in the whole plot.
How dangerous to Israel, from Israel's existence, an existential threat, is the potential of Iran, under the current regime of Ahmadinejad, getting a nuclear bomb?
Well, I hate to disappoint you. I don't believe that there is an existential threat to Israel. I believe that there is a deadly threat to Israel. I think that the Iranian nuclear threat to Israel is a serious one. It is a threat the like of which we have not faced up to before. I don't think that Iran will ever be able to erase Israel from the map.
Well, I don't know why you say you're disappointing me to say that, but that's encouraging from certainly from everyone in Israel's perspective and all of Israel's friends around the world. Does Israel, though, have the capability to take out Iran's nuclear facilities?
I won't give you a direct answer to that question. What I would say is that I believe that if there was a confrontation between Israel and Iran, Israel would find the ways and means of not having to suffer the brunt of the Iranian capability.
Just elaborate. I mean, I'm not exactly sure I understand what you're saying.
I say that there are a variety of means that can be used in order to prevent Iran from taking the step of putting its nuclear capability to the test. I think the Iran, in the final analysis, will be deterred if it has the capability, if it obtains the capability from using it.
Ephraim Halevi, a former Mossad director and the author of the important book, Man in the Shadows, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
And let's go to Iraq now, where 3 more Iraqis died when a bomb ripped through a market in Baghdad. It's just one of several attacks around Iraq today, much of the violence caused by a tool on the insurgents' preferred list of weapons. Let's get some more now from our Pentagon correspondent, Barbara Starr. Barbara?
Well, Wolf, more frustration about the progress in Iraq and more indications that violence in many parts of that country is on the rise. A new U.S. military intelligence report says if the sectarian violence isn't controlled, Iraq could plunge into civil war. Last month, 2,625 improvised explosive devices were planted across Iraq, the highest number of roadside bombs this year, almost double the number 7 months ago. On average, about half of all IEDs are found before they explode. But it is civilians paying the price. 110 Iraqis are killed in the war every day. The Pentagon says it's a grim statistic that has doubled in the last year. By many measures, it is getting worse. Today, 1/3 of all attacks target civilians and Iraqi security forces. In some areas of Baghdad and Anbar province, it's been as high as 60% in recent weeks. No more talk of U.S. troops coming home.
I'm very much against set timetables because, as we've seen just in the last 6 to 8 weeks, conditions on the ground here change.
The U.S. believes security operations in Baghdad are helping, but there are ongoing worries about the long-term outlook.
That some guys are going to run and hide and try out something else.
And concern about Iraq's ability to fend for itself.
The United States in and of itself cannot be chasing all over Iraq for each and every piece of insurrection.
But, Wolf, according to the Iraqi Health Ministry, 3,500 Iraqi citizens died last month alone in the violence. President Bush has been meeting with outside experts about the whole Iraq issue, but according to administration officials, there are no new ideas out there about how to do anything different. Wolf?
All right, Barbara, thank you. Let's go to Lou Dobbs. He's standing by in New York with a quick preview of what's coming up at the top of the hour. Lou?
Well, thank you. Coming up at 6 p.m. Eastern here on CNN. Tonight, we'll have extensive reports on a federal judge's ruling that the Bush administration's warrantless wiretaps are unconstitutional. We'll be examining the political and legal implications of the ruling. Also tonight, Congress and corporate America escalating what is already an outright war on our middle class, supporting amnesty for millions of illegal aliens. But lawmakers still believe they can win middle-class votes in the midterm elections, irrespective of their position on illegal immigration. We'll have that special report, and we continue our reporting on the case of the illegal alien who's taken refuge in a Chicago church trying to avoid deportation to Mexico again. The illegal alien is now trying to use her American-born son as a shield against deportation. We'll have that live report for you from Chicago and a great deal more. We hope you'll join us. Wolf, back to you.
Thank you, Lou. Still to come, a federal judge orders a halt to the Bush administration's domestic spying program. But is that just the sort of program that could prevent another 9/11? I'll speak with the chairman and the vice chairman of the 9/11 Commission. That's coming up. And Jack Cafferty lays into Washington's lobbyists and wonders what it means if they're starting to hire more Democrats. We'll be right back.
Are there places in your home where you wish you had a light, but you don't?
Hi, Anthony Sullivan here for the wireless stick-up light bulb. A battery-operated light bulb that you can install without an electrician. Just stick up the base, slide in the bulb, and you've got light. It's that easy. There's no wires and no complicated installation. Now you can have light anytime, any place, anywhere. Just stick it up, pull the cord, and you've got light. The stick-up bulb is safe for kids, and it easily puts light within their reach. Unlike glass bulbs that break, the stick-up bulb is shatterproof if you drop it. There's no dangerous wires to mess with either. The stick-up bulb installs instantly, stays cool to the touch, and has a 10-year guarantee. Around the house or on the car, don't use hot clip-on lights when you can use the stick-up bulb. The stick-up bulb is perfect for attics and basements. Have a closet that needs illumination? Use the stick-up bulb. Just stick it up and you've got light. Use one anywhere you need extra light. Nothing's easier to fit underneath the kitchen counter, and they're perfect inside for a tool shed if you don't have power. Use them outside as a wireless light for decks or patios, and they're great for camping and RVs. If the power goes out, you can depend on the power of the stick-up bulb. And each one slides out to become a handy lantern. This electrician charged $180 to install one light bulb. Call now and you'll get the wireless stick-up bulb for just $19.99. But that's not all. We'll also include the Owl Optical wallet light free. Just pay separate shipping and handling. The magnifying lens and built-in light are perfect for helping you read menus, receipts, and more. And it fits right inside your wallet. But call right now and we'll throw in a second stick-up bulb free. That's 2 wireless stick-up bulbs and the Owl Optical wallet light at $60 value, all for just $19.99. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-856-5996 to order stick-up bulb with $60 value, just $19.99. That's 1-800-856-5996. Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-856-5996.
Honey, let's talk about smoking. I know someday someone might offer you a cigarette, and I know you'll be tempted to try it. And even though it may not be easy, say no. They don't make you look cool and they don't make you look older. When you're ready to talk, I'll listen.
It's never too early to talk to your kids about smoking. Go to keepkidsfromsmoking.com to learn more about Lorillard Tobacco Company's Youth Smoking Prevention Program.
Closed captioning provided by Activon. Applied directly where it hurts.
New from the makers of Head-On. Introducing Activon. Back pain, Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Backache. In stores now.
Welcome back. I want to go right to the same. Let's go right to Zane Vergie. She's following a story out west. Zane?
Hi, Wolf. Part of Arbuckle Mountain is on fire. You see high plumes of white smoke, and beneath that, dangerous glows of orange as a wildfire rages here. It's about 40 miles outside the Oklahoma-Texas border. It's about a mile from Falls Creek in Oklahoma, and it's apparently moving towards Cedar Village. The road, the I-35, has been shut down. Firefighters, Wolf, are on the scene trying to fight this fire, but they don't appear to be able to get it under control. Wolf?
Thank you, Zane. We'll get back to our top story now. A federal judge in Michigan ordering a halt to the Bush administration's domestic spying program, ruling that the wiretapping of Americans without warrants is unconstitutional. The administration is appealing, arguing that it's a vital tool in the war against terrorism. And joining us now in Washington, the co-chairman of the 9/11 Commission, Governor Thomas Kean, Congressman Lee Hamilton. They're the authors of a new, very important book entitled Without Precedent, The Inside Story of the 9/11 Commission. Gentlemen, thanks very much for coming in. Let me get your quick reaction to this judge's order today, this ruling against the Bush administration's warrantless wiretapping program. And Governor Kean, I'll start with you. If this holds, if the government can no longer go forward with these warrantless wiretaps, will American lives be lost potentially?
I don't believe so, but the administration may say something quite different. I think it's fairly easy to get a warrant, and you can move fairly fast with a warrant. And we don't really know how often these are used. The administration's never told us.
Well, Congressman Hamilton, I want you to weigh in as well, because the argument that the White House, that the Justice Department, the Bush administration makes is it would be much too cumbersome to have to go get these warrants from the so-called FISA court every time. This new process, the new technology, it will protect American lives in the war on terror.
First of all, I think we really do not know an awful lot about this surveillance program. For example, how frequently it's invoked. Secondly, I think there may be good reasons from a counterterrorism standpoint to have national surveillance and interceptions of all kinds of conversations. Third, I believe that if you give that power to anyone, that power should be checked. It should be balanced. And so I think there has to be a framework put into place to make sure that this power is not abused.
So is it your point, Congressman Hamilton, that the judge's decision today was a good decision?
Well, this is a federal district court judge. You're going to have a lot of court rulings on this in the days and months ahead, and it's going to be a long time before this is resolved in the courts. I do want to see the Congress and the courts involved in checking power, the power to conduct surveillance of American citizens. That ought not to be a decision made by one person, even a president.
Let's move on and talk a little bit about some of the things you've said and the things you've written in the book, because both of you have spent an enormous amount of time learning the lessons of 9/11. Governor Kean, the other day you said this: we're not protecting our own people in this country. The government is not doing its job. I want you to explain what you mean. It sounds like you're saying the President of the United States 5 years after 9/11 is not doing his job.
I didn't particularize it. I was talking about the government as a whole, including the United States Congress, because there are a number of things they could be doing that they're not doing as well. And you can go into any number of areas, from the fact that we're still, 5 years after 9/11, we're still not distributing funds to the areas that need it the most. We're not doing it according to risk. We're doing it instead and just giving it around to the various congressional districts. That's terrible 5 years after 9/11. And we're still not doing, as we found out, everything we can in the airports. We're not doing enough, we don't believe, and to protect us against a possible nuclear attack. We're not doing enough in the ports. I mean, there's just a whole range of issues here that we address, and we've addressed in the 9/11 report, and a number of our 41 recommendations are not yet in place.
Well, the buck in the executive branch of the U.S. government stops with the President of the United States. So I'll rephrase the question. Is he doing enough? Is he doing everything that he can 5 years after 9/11 to make sure the American people are safe from terror?
I don't know whether everything is a big term. I think the President's doing a lot. We're safer than we used to be. I'd like to see the President doing more. I would like, for instance, to see the President highlighting in a much greater way the dangers of nuclear terrorism and things that we could do about it. The President has a wonderful bully pulpit. It's not just what he does and what he can get through Congress, but he can set the agenda. And there are some things on the agenda that need to be addressed. And the risk of a terrorist with a nuclear weapon is, from our point of view, the number one.
Well, let me bring Congressman Hamilton in and talk about that nuclear fear, that nuclear threat. How credible, how realistic is it, Congressman, that a terrorist, Al-Qaeda or any other affiliate group or whatever, could get their hands on some sort of nuclear device?
I don't think the attack by a terrorist using a nuclear weapon is the most likely threat. It's not easy to do, but it is doable. The reason it's so high on our list is because the consequences of that attack are almost beyond imagination. We calculated in the report and in the book that 500,000 Americans would die if a nuclear bomb went off in Manhattan. And the casualties beyond that and the economic disruption are just beyond calculation. So this is the number one priority. You have to make a lot of hard choices establishing priorities in Homeland Security. We put this at the top of the list, not because of its likelihood, but because of its consequences.
Governor Kaine, is Al-Qaeda still a viable terror threat to the United States? Because we know Osama bin Laden presumably is on the run someplace. Ayman al-Zawahiri is number two, even though he shows up on videotapes. He's on the run. Can this group, which committed the atrocity of 9/11, can they do it again and perhaps even do it worse?
They can do it again, and we think Al-Qaeda is a different kind of organization now. It's not centrally controlled by bin Laden anymore. He may be the visible force, but it's not controlled by him, but it's morphed into a number of loosely affiliated organizations. Each one of those organizations is capable of planning and carrying out a terror attack against the United States. And they plan to do it, and they want to do it, and they're going to try as best they can to hurt as many of us as possible.
A final question on screening for you, Congressman Hamilton. There's new technology. People can go through lines at airports, and effectively they could be seen naked as they go through, but there's a lot of privacy concerns, understandably. Is there a line? Is there some sort of area that you think needs to be addressed given the enormity of the threat out there as far as this new technology is concerned?
Well, there surely is. Up to this point, I think the people on the security side of the equation have won every argument. And we want to do everything we can to make our people as safe as we can. Now we are beginning to understand that the cost of doing all of that gets to be very, very large, both in terms of resources spent, but also in terms of intrusion into your private life. So this is one of the reasons we think you have to have a very robust and aggressive Civil Liberties and Privacy Board that oversees all of the government activity with regard to counterterrorism and homeland security, and constantly asks the question and probes, are the civil liberties and the privacy of Americans being adequately protected with the steps that you take to protect homeland security? It's a major question for the future.
Congressman Hamilton, Governor Kaine, thanks to both of you for joining us. Thanks for writing this important book, Without Precedent, the inside story of the 9/11 Commission.
Thank you, Wolf.
Thank you, Wolf.
And stay tuned to CNN day and night for the most reliable news about your security. Up ahead, a hiring boom on K Street in Washington, at least for Democrats. But is it good? Your thoughts in the Cafferty File. That's next. And it's been a day of bizarre developments in the JonBenet Ramsey case. CNN's Jeannie Moos will have a special take on what's going on. That's coming up at our 7 p.m. Eastern hour. Stay with us.
Homeowners with adjustable mortgages. If your monthly payment has increased or is about to increase, refinance now to a low fixed rate loan from Ditech.com. We'll guarantee the lowest rate and fees. Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
10 years ago, I collapsed on stage.
Patti LaBelle has diabetes.
Food was the enemy back then.
New One Touch Ultra 2 with before and after meal averages can help you see how food affects your blood sugar.
One Touch changes everything.
Too often, political correctness is all about controlling language. We have to tell it like it is.
Lou Dobbs tonight. CNN coming up next.
It's time for...
At the door, there's a man who will greet you.
The food is all that you've been dreaming of. The games are hot and they're right for the winning.
I think that I'm in love.
I know a place where you'll find some friends and win some dough. I know a place where we can go.
Mixing plastic bags in with other recyclables can really clog up the works. And no decent recycling bin can stomach that.
Interior Motives. Your inspiration. Let our designers help you develop your dream. To make room for our 12th annual holiday spectacular, Interior Motives is offering 30 to 60% off everything store-wide. August 18th and 19th, we'll give you the look for less. Dreams can come true, especially when they're 30 to 60% off.
Follow your dreams to Interior Motives.
Your inspiration, our expertise. Southwest Pacific Highway in Tigard.
Talk, 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 and save. For a limited time, get Comcast Digital Voice for just $24.99 a month for 3 months with free installation. With Comcast Digital Voice, long-distance calling in the U.S. and to Canada is always free. So talk all you want. And talk about value. Comcast has more free calling features than Verizon or Qwest. Call now for this huge deal on Comcast Digital Voice. Just $24.99 a month. Hurry, this offer ends soon. Call 1-888-SO-EASY-4 today.
In the footsteps of Bin Laden, premieres CNN Wednesday, August 23rd.
Let's go right to Zane Vergy. She's following a developing story. Zane?
Wolf, ABC News is citing unidentified U.S. officials essentially saying North Korea may be preparing an underground test for a nuclear bomb. Now, the report quotes a senior military official, one of them saying that a U.S. intelligence agency has recently observed, quote, suspicious vehicle movement at a suspected North Korean test site. A senior State Department official has apparently told ABC that it's the view of the intelligence community that a test is a real possibility. Now, the Reuters news agency said that they asked about this report, and they're quoting a senior U.S. official saying this: we have no new evidence to support that. That just coming in to us, Wolf, and we will keep you up to date the more we get.
Thank you, Zane. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Jack Cafferty. We'll be right back.
How do you measure a company? Do you look at where they've been? Do you look at what they've done? At Citgo, we're not resting on our past. We're looking forward to the future. Providing steady, secure access to the largest liquid reserves in the Western Hemisphere, today and for generations to come.
The engine is connected to the tool. The tool is connected to the hand. The hand is connected to the body. The body is connected to the mind. The mind is connected to the heart.
At UBS,
Financial solutions come from listening very carefully to what our clients say, but even more carefully to what they don't say. You could call it the commitment to understand. We just call it you and us. You and us, UBS.
Let's check back with Jack. Jack?
The question this hour, Wolf, is what does it mean if the lobbyists down in Washington, D.C. are starting to hire more Democrats, which they are? Jim writes from Texas. Jack, your question is confusing. You said the lobbyists are hiring Democrats. Are you saying our members of Congress are for sale? Nah. Dale in Massachusetts, lobbyists have switched over to the Democrats because they've already given so much money to Republicans, they're not getting a good enough return on their investment anymore. I mean, how many houses and offshore bank accounts can one guy have anyway? Bill in Massachusetts, the problem for our country is the Democrats are just as eager to sell us out to the lobbyists as the Republicans. No one who has ever served in public office should be allowed to work as or for a lobbyist organization. That's a good idea. Mike in Las Vegas, the hiring of more Democrats means there'll be a new ringmaster and different clowns, but the circus will be the same. Craig in Florida, you can buy a Democrat a lot cheaper than a Republican at the moment. They've been marked down. The Republicans won't go on sale until after the elections. Jimmy in Georgia, it means the lobbyists know what the American people have known for at least 6 months. We're being price gouged by the oil companies, lied to by the president, and suckered by the Congress. The 2006 midterm elections can be compared to a baby's dirty diaper. When it's full, it's time to change it. And Andrew writes from California, bipartisan jail cells. Wolf? Oh, if you didn't see that thing here, go to the, where is it? I got it written down here, somewhere online. I got it. No, I don't got it. Yeah, I do. CNN.com/Cafferty File, where we post some more of these. You'd think after reading that every day, twice a day, I'd remember it, but I didn't.
And a lot of people like to go there. Jack, see you in an hour. We'll be back 7 p.m. Eastern. Let's go to Lou Dobbs in New York. Lou?
Well, thank you. Tonight, a federal judge strikes down a key part of the Bush administration's strategy to defeat radical Islamist terrorists. The judge says warrantless wiretaps are unconstitutional. The judge has ordered an immediate halt to the program. We'll have complete coverage tonight. And troubling new questions about the Bush administration's management of the war in Iraq. The number of insurgent attacks against our troops has doubled since the beginning of this year. 2 more of our troops have been killed in combat. We'll have a special report tonight from the Pentagon.
This is Lou Dobbs Tonight. News, debate, and opinion for Thursday, August 17th. Live in New York, Lou Dobbs.
Good evening, everybody. A federal judge today ruled the Bush administration's warrantless wiretap program is unconstitutional. The judge ordered the National Security Agency to stop the eavesdropping program and stop it immediately. The Justice Department quickly appealed the judge's ruling. Attorney General Alberto Gonzales insists the program is lawful, and the Attorney General said it has been effective in protecting the country from terrorism. Kelly Arena tonight reports from Washington on the judge's ruling and why the judge says warrantless wiretaps are unconstitutional. Elaine Quijano reports from the White House on the Bush administration's strong and rapid reaction and defense of the eavesdropping program. Barbara Starr tonight reports from the Pentagon on new questions about the president's conduct of the war in Iraq as the number of insurgent attacks against our troops has escalated sharply. We turn first to Kelly Arena. Kelly?
Lou, this was a damaging blow for the Bush administration's anti-terror program. A federal judge ordered an immediate halt to the domestic spying operation carried out by the National Security Agency.
Government officials point to the alleged plot to blow up jetliners over the Atlantic as a primary example of why the U.S. government sometimes needs to listen in on international communications without a warrant. But a federal judge in Detroit says the National Security Agency's controversial wiretapping program violates free speech and privacy rights.
We're enormously gratified by the historic ruling of the federal district court today. Clearly, the judge agreed with our arguments that the president had overstepped his powers as the chief executive, that no one is above the law, not even the president.
The NSA is monitoring phone calls and other communications between people in the U.S. and others overseas when one of the parties is suspected of a terrorist link. The American Civil Liberties Union filed a lawsuit on behalf of lawyers, academics, and journalists like Jim Bamford, who say that some of the people they talk to could fit that description. They argue the possibility of the government eavesdropping interferes with doing their jobs. Bush administration officials insist that the wiretapping program is well within the president's authority.
It is a program that is reviewed periodically for its continued effectiveness. It is reviewed periodically to ensure that it remains lawful. It has been very important for the security of our country.
In court, government lawyers have argued that to even talk about the program would mean revealing state secrets. And if the ruling is upheld, some government supporters say the impact would be breathtaking.
That would be an enormous limitation on the ability of the United States to conduct its foreign relations and to fight wars.
The Justice Department appealed the ruling. The wiretapping will continue until the judge decides what will happen as the case makes its way through the legal system, Lou.
Kelly, thank you very much. Kelly Arena from Washington. The White House today strongly defended the government's warrantless wiretap program. President Bush has insistently and consistently said the program is an essential tool in the global war against radical Islamist terrorism and the program well within his presidential powers. Elaine Quijano reports from the White House. Elaine?
Lou, the White House is defending this program as legal and necessary, and officials say that the program itself is carefully administered and that it is regularly reviewed to make sure steps are taken in order to protect civil liberties. Now, President Bush did not respond to a question about the judge's ruling today as he left the White House on his way to Camp David, where he'll be spending the next few days. But in his statement, White House Press Secretary Tony Snow said, quote, "We couldn't disagree more with this ruling, and the Justice Department will seek an immediate stay of the opinion and appeal." Now, it is important to note that this ruling and the ensuing debate over this program come at a time, of course, when midterm elections in Congress are just around the corner, some 80 days away. As we saw this week, the president, who visited the National Counterterrorism Center earlier this week on Tuesday, and Republicans as well, are really trying to display that their national security credentials are quite strong. But Democrats are pouncing on today's ruling, trying to attack those credentials. Senate Democratic leader Harry Reid, in fact, saying this ruling is an example of how, in his words, the Bush administration has jeopardized the country's efforts in the war on terror. Lou?
Elaine, thank you. Elaine Quijano reporting from the White House. Joining me now to assess today's court ruling and the implications, both political and legal, our senior legal analyst himself, a former federal prosecutor, Jeffrey Toobin. Jeffrey, your reaction to this district court ruling?
This is one chapter in a long series of fights between the Bush administration and its adversaries on the question of civil liberties versus national security. In court lately, the Bush administration has been losing more often than winning, most dramatically in the Supreme Court earlier this year on the question of the Guantanamo prisoners. This is not as important. This is very likely to be appealed. It's one step in a long process, but it's another loss for the Bush administration.
Is it also likely to be overturned in your assessment?
This one, I think, is much more likely to be overturned than some of the others because this deals with a core executive function, the conduct of foreign policy. The judge is a well-known liberal judge from Detroit. If you read the opinion, she cites mostly other liberal judges' opinions. The same issue is before several other courts around the country. I think this one's going to be harder to for the Civil Liberties Union to win nationwide.
We'd like to get your opinion on one statement by the district court judge, Anna Diggs Taylor, who you just referenced, and if we could, I'd like to put up this language. The President of the United States, a creature of the same Constitution which gave us these amendments, has undisputably violated the fourth in failing to procure judicial orders as required by FISA, and accordingly has violated the First Amendment rights of these plaintiffs. Now, that statement is straightforward. It's as clear as one could ask a judge to be. Is it, however, accurate?
Well, it's and as scathing as the whole 43-page opinion is, the real core issue here is, does the administration, is it totally barred by the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, the law that says you have to get a warrant before you do any sort of surveillance? The Bush administration has said its executive powers extend beyond FISA. the Supreme Court is going to have to settle this, and they've got more justices to their liking there now.
And as we look at it, and I think it's interesting as you put a political context around these judicial proceedings, a liberal judge at the district court level, and it seems that either politics abate somewhat, partisan politics, as you move up through the appellate structure, or they swing conservative, one or the other. Is Congress also going to have a role here? Is it now an appropriate time for Congress to set forth law that will set parameters and boundaries over this president, or is it going to be, as you suggest, ruled by the interpretation of the Constitution?
Arlen Specter, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, is trying to get a bill that will be a compromise of all these positions. But as you know, we're coming up on an election, and not much is getting through Congress these days, especially on something as controversial as this.
And important. Jeffrey Toobin, thank you, as always. In the war in Iraq, insurgents have killed 2 more of our troops in the past 24 hours. 1 soldier died of wounds he received in combat in El Anbar province. Another of our soldiers killed in a roadside bomb explosion south of Baghdad. The U.S. military says the number of roadside bomb attacks in Iraq has risen sharply this year. Barbara Starr reports from the Pentagon.
A new U.S. military intelligence report says if the sectarian violence isn't controlled, Iraq could plunge into civil war. Last month, 2,625 improvised explosive devices were planted across Iraq, the highest number of roadside bombs this year, almost double the number 7 months ago. On average, about half of all IEDs are found before they explode. But it is civilians paying the price. 110 Iraqis are killed in the war every day. The Pentagon says it's a grim statistic that has doubled in the last year. By many measures, it is getting worse. Today, 1/3 of all attacks target civilians and Iraqi security forces. In some areas of Baghdad and Anbar province, it's been as high as 60% in recent weeks. No more talk of U.S. troops coming home.
I'm very much against set timetables because, as we've seen just in the last 6 to 8 weeks, conditions on the ground here change.
The U.S. believes security operations in Baghdad are helping, but there are ongoing worries about the long-term outlook.
That some guys are going to run and hide and try out something else.
And concern about Iraq's ability to fend for itself.
The United States in and of itself cannot be chasing all over Iraq for each and every piece of insurrection.
And Lou, it is Iraqi civilians that are paying the price. According to the Iraqi Health Ministry, some 3,500 Iraqis died last month alone in the violence. President Bush has met recently with some outside experts to talk with them about the situation, but by all accounts, there are no new ideas about what to do about Iraq. Lou?
And no new language, the Pentagon's term of art moving to death squads and militias. I noticed Tony Snow, the White House press secretary, acknowledging the insurgency. Is the Pentagon clinging to death squads at this time?
Well, you know, they are using, and I believe President Bush also now is using the phrase death squads quite a bit. What people say around here is that is a reflection of the sectarian violence, which they say is now the #1 cause of violence in Iraq, as opposed to that other phrase, insurgency, Ba'athist, Saddamist, all the words we had heard for so long, Lou.
But not civil war. Barbara Starr, thank you very much. Reporting from the Pentagon. Well, the price paid high. 27 of our troops have been killed in Iraq this month. 2/3 of them have been killed in Al Anbar province west of Baghdad. 2,604 of our troops have now been killed in Iraq since the beginning of this war more than 3 years ago. Lebanese troops today took up positions in southern Lebanon as part of a peace deal to end the month-long conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. Lebanese soldiers and UN peacekeepers are deploying now in areas that have been controlled by Hezbollah for a quarter century. But Hezbollah is refusing to give up its weapons. In another possible setback to the peace deal, France now says it will send only 200 additional troops to join the existing UN force in southern Lebanon. And Germany has declared that it will not send any combat troops to southern Lebanon. Israel says its troops have already withdrawn from more than half of the positions they had taken up and had been holding in southern Lebanon. The Israeli army is expected to stay in a narrow buffer zone inside Lebanon until Lebanese and UN troops have completed their deployments to the area. Still ahead here, Congress and corporate America escalating what is already an outright war on our middle class. They're putting the interests of illegal aliens before the rights of American workers, and doing so apparently proudly. We'll have a special report for you. And an illegal alien who's taken refuge inside a Chicago church continues to defy U.S. immigration officials and our laws. When will federal agents take action? We'll have a live report for you from Chicago. We'll have the latest on the John Benet Ramsey murder case. New details have emerged about the suspect who was arrested yesterday in Thailand. All of that, a great deal more, straight ahead here.
How about this spot?
Too small.
How about that one?
Oil slick.
We know responsibility sometimes means going a little out of your way.
No.
And that one?
Dent.
That's why if you're ever in an accident, we'll give you a rental car for as long as you need it. Responsibility. What's your policy?
It's a rental.
Liberty Mutual.
Wouldn't it be great if you could get help right when you need it? That's the idea behind a new live on-screen service called Dell Connect. A Dell specialist can access and diagnose your computer problem remotely and help solve your problem for you, all live through your broadband connection.
Okay, mind if I log on and take a look? Just sit back while I take care of this for you. That should do it. You're all set.
And Dell Connect comes standard with every Dell PC. Just another way Dell is purely you.
August 23rd, Bin Laden's legions out to destroy America. Now more than ever, know your enemy. In the footsteps of Bin Laden, a CNN 2-hour special investigation, August 23rd, 9 Eastern.
Tonight, Congress and corporate America proving once again they will go to any length to attack and exploit the nation's middle class. Democrats are accusing Walmart of hurting American workers while at the same time fighting for the rights and amnesty of illegal alien workers. And a U.S. hotel chain tonight is being accused of an outrageous scheme to hire cheap foreign workers instead of American citizens. Lisa Sylvester reports on the Democrats' cynical new campaign ploy to attract middle-class voters, and Christine Romans reports on stunning new charges now leveled against a New Orleans hotel firm. We begin with Lisa Sylvester. Lisa.
Lou, Democrats are hoping to go after big business to win over voters. But is it a political stunt, or are they really interested in helping middle-class families? Senator Joe Biden hopes to roll up new political supporters by beating up on big box giant Walmart. Biden, a possible contender for the White House in 2008, had harsh words for the nation's largest retailer on a swing through Iowa.
What they're basically saying to us is in order for Americans to be able to compete, they have to lower their standard of living. I mean, it's that basic. It's that simple. I'm not in on that ride.
Senators Biden, Joseph Lieberman, John Kerry, and Ted Kennedy have ripped large corporations for exporting good American jobs to overseas countries. But ironically, these same political leaders are all ardent supporters of importing foreign workers through a guest worker amnesty bill. One notable exception in the Democratic camp, Senator Byron Dorgan, one of only 4 Democrats who voted against the Senate amnesty legislation.
Well, shipping American jobs overseas and importing cheap labor through the back door is just the reverse side of the same coin. I mean, you can't be concerned about the loss of American jobs being shipped overseas in search of 20-cent an hour labor and then not be concerned about the companies that bring in cheap labor through the back door.
Immigration reform group Numbers USA argues that American workers are damaged more by importing foreign workers than exporting jobs.
When you export a job, the foreign workers who are taking those jobs are in other countries. Therefore, they don't have to be subsidized by the American taxpayers. But when you import a worker to take a job, you've not only lost the job to an American worker, but the taxpayers are subsidizing.
Exporting jobs, importing foreign workers. Critics like Senator Dorgan say it all leads to falling wages and the wholesale fleecing of the American worker. Now, we called Senator Biden's office to get a comment from him, but his office declined to talk about any discrepancy in his position. Biden, in a statement, simply saying Walmart's employees are the face of America, hard workers across the country, and for the work they do, they should be paid a fair wage. Lou?
Nice job, Lisa. Thank you very much. Lisa Sylvester reporting from Washington. Tonight, a New Orleans hotel firm is being accused of an outrageous attack on the working men and women of this country. A newly filed lawsuit says the Decatur Hotel Group aggressively hired cheap foreign workers from Latin America instead of American workers in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Christine Romans reports.
Latin American guest workers are suing the owner-operator of these luxury New Orleans hotels. A federal lawsuit filed this week charges they were lured into the H-2B guest worker program, then were unable to work off the cost of their visa fees, travel, and lodging, and were forbidden to get another job because their work visa doesn't allow it.
It's slavery. It's peonage. It's whatever you want to, you know, it's a crazy system that we have. They can't quit their jobs. U.S. workers can't take the jobs, and the only people who profit from this system are the big corporations.
Among the workers filing suit, Julia, mother of 2 from Bolivia, and Luis, father of 3 from the Dominican Republic. They claim Decatur Hotels LLC used the government's H-2B guest worker program to hire them as cheap labor, despite the fact that, quote, local U.S. workers, mostly African Americans, had previously worked in this industry in New Orleans and were available to do so again. The lawsuit alleges, quote, the defendant's goal in using foreign labor instead of seeking the services of U.S. workers was to drive down wages and working conditions. Decatur Hotels and its owner, F. Patrick Quinn III, would not respond on camera. A spokesperson said the company tried to attract workers locally and looked outside as a last resort. In a statement, the company said, quote, management offered to meet with the small group of workers who were expressing concerns. This offer was declined. Meanwhile, representatives of the workers cast the lawsuit in terms of race and civil rights.
He and other disaster profiteers are making use of the guest worker program to continue a long history of racial exploitation.
A press release about the lawsuit calls the workers, quote, corporate sharecroppers. Representatives for the workers say this guest worker program is a wedge between New Orleans' working poor and desperately poor foreign workers who will do anything to come here, playing right into the hands of employers. In a statement, Decatur Hotel says it is distressed by the charges, Lou, but it declined to answer those charges on camera at this point.
There's so many questions to be answered, and one of them, of course, will be answered in this lawsuit. But the number of principally African Americans who lived in New Orleans, hundreds of thousands who've been dispersed around the country, while New Orleans is trying to attract working men and women. It's a disconnect that no one has been able to explain fully yet.
And at the same time exploiting those workers who are coming into the country under the visa program.
A lose-lose proposition, absolutely. I suppose it could be called. Thank you very much, Christine Romans. Tonight, more complications for the Democrats. Senator Joe Lieberman is running as an independent after the Democratic primary went to his anti-war challenger, Ned Lamont. Tonight, a poll of Connecticut's likely voters finds Lieberman beating Lamont by 12 points. Lieberman, 53%, Lamont at 41%, Republican Alan Schlesinger at 4%. Today, presidential hopeful John Edwards became the first nationally known Democrat to campaign since the primary with Lamont. Here's Senator Edwards speaking live right now in New Haven, Connecticut. So far, Democrats have been gentle in their criticism of Lieberman's independent candidacy, instead focusing their attacks on President Bush. Just a few moments ago, Senator Edwards said, quote, "I voted for this war and I was wrong." Coming up next here, the standoff continues in Chicago. An illegal alien holed up in a church for a third day. She is daring U.S. immigration officials to apprehend her. We'll have the latest for you in a live report. Also, outrage rising on Capitol Hill over the report that we have been following each and every night on this broadcast. 2 U.S. Border Patrolmen convicted, a drug smuggler given immunity. Congressional leaders are now promising action in the case of 2 U.S. Border Patrol agents facing up to 20 years in prison for trying to do their job, for trying to protect this country. And the man suspected of killing John Benet Ramsey is speaking out tonight. The district attorney in the case is warning of a rush to judgment. We'll be in Boulder, Colorado with a live report on the very latest for you. Stay with us.
The next generation of terrorists. They could be right next door. CNN investigates. Terror 2.0. All new Saturday and Sunday.
VHIX.com helps people find the car they want at a dealer near them. How do we improve that user experience?
Replace the mouse with the steering wheel. That way it's like you're driving your new car already. Then you can beep the horn to change pages.
And your idea?
VHIX TV. Not just web pages, cool video test drives powered by Wheels TV.
Cool video test drives, now at VHIX.com. Just click Autos on Comcast.net.
With the MLB Extra Innings package, no matter where your team is, every game's a home game. You can watch your team's games or scout the competition. MLB Extra Innings. Baseball shouldn't be a long-distance relationship. Call 888-SPORTS-IN today.
Inside the JonBenet Ramsey arrest with Patsy Ramsey's sisters. Larry King, 9 Eastern.
Would you like to consolidate bills and lower your monthly payments? Then call or log on to ditech.com. We can help you to get a new low fixed rate mortgage that will pay off your current debts and lower your monthly payments by hundreds of dollars. Call 1-800-71-FIX.
Each year, thousands of kids find out if they've gotten into college.
It came.
And thousands of parents come to the realization they can't afford it.
You gonna open it? I'm freaking out.
I'm freaking out a little too. But now there's a smarter way to pay for college. Loan to Learn. Call now to talk with an advisor. We'll show you how to finance your child's college dream without depleting your retirement savings or home equity, so family finances stay intact.
You know, if you don't get in, it's a great school.
See how our easy application process and affordable loans can make all the difference.
Cross your fingers.
Loan to Learn. Call 1-888-TO-LEARN or visit loantolearn.com.
Tonight in Chicago, an illegal alien trying to avoid deportation to Mexico again remains in a Methodist church seeking sanctuary. The case is becoming a flashpoint in the battle over illegal immigration. Elvira Arano violated numerous American laws and has been deported before. U.S. immigration authorities say they will arrest her at a time of their choosing. Jonathan Freed is in Chicago tonight with the story. Jonathan?
Lou, I'll set the scene for you. We are in day 3 of this, where the woman is inside this church with her 7-year-old son, claiming the ancient right of sanctuary, trying to avoid deportation. Outside the building, depending on the time of day, you could have anywhere from a dozen to 2 dozen supporters. We were there midday today, and the numbers were sort of in between there. The big question, though, outside up until now, we have not seen any immigration authorities, and the question is, when might they show up? Now, I spoke to the people at ICE today, Lou. They say, let me put it in context for you. They said there are 590,000 immigration fugitives, as they call them, right now in the United States. I'll give you that number again, 590,000. And they say that they're going after what they call the more dangerous criminal cases first. So I said, so does that mean that she might have to make herself a little bit comfortable inside that church if she intends to wait it out? And you kind of got a chuckle on the other end of the phone there. Now, we spoke to the woman's lawyer as well. He disputes the fact that they have classified her as a fugitive, saying that she told ICE where she is and that she would not resist arrest. And Lou, the lawyer, also told me that they are looking at going to federal court to try to argue that deporting the mother would effectively be deporting the son, who is an American citizen. Lou?
And in other words, you're saying that Ariano is the one who is trying to create a confrontation here.
They're saying, I said, so in this case, we're looking at somebody who was being very vocal,
right,
who was drawing attention to herself, but that in your mind you don't see her as a dangerous case that needs to be addressed immediately. And that's you sort of listen to what they don't say, and that effectively is the conclusion that you draw.
Well, let's take a look at another thing that ICE has been saying, and we've been reporting on this show for a very long time. Almost 600,000 fugitive illegal aliens in this country, and there are just about 3,000 ICE agents, and only a fraction of those available to pursue those unknown illegal alien fugitives in this country. Add to that anywhere between 12 and 20 million illegal aliens living in this country, and you can see why this country really is in a crisis when it comes to illegal immigration and border security. We will continue to follow this case, obviously, very carefully. Jonathan Freed, we thank you very much for that report from Chicago.
Thanks.
Time now for some of your thoughts. Kate in Massachusetts wrote in to say, help, Lou. A faithful viewer of your show and a loyal reader of The Nation. Imagine my consternation this week to find you pitted against one another. On certain issues, illegal immigration, outsourcing, I'm in agreement with you. On some issues, the restriction of American civil liberties under this administration, in agreement with The Nation. And on many issues, the incompetent prosecution of the war in Iraq, the danger of electronic voting, in agreement with you both. I must be, gasp, a well-informed, nonpartisan, independent-thinking American citizen. And good for you, because I hope that we can all make that claim. Independence in thinking, certainly. And Susan in Utah, seems like Border Patrol agent is the most thankless job in America. Soon it might be a job Americans do not want. Does that mean illegals will do it? And Tim in Ohio, hi Lou, I just wonder if the illegal who was given immunity for smuggling some 700 pounds of drugs, or smuggling 700 pounds of explosives, or worse, wouldn't we be giving those brave Border Patrol agents a medal? They are being screwed. Send us your thoughts at LouDobbs.com. More of your thoughts are upcoming here in the broadcast. Tonight, the district attorney in the John Benet Ramsey murder investigation is warning against a rush to judgment in this case. 41-year-old John Mark Carr has confessed to killing the young girl almost a decade ago. He's speaking out about the crime tonight, but he's not yet been formally charged. Ted Rollins is live tonight with a report for us from Boulder, Colorado. Ted, what is the latest?
Well, Lou, it's really unclear whether this 41-year-old traveling school teacher is the answer to this 10-year mystery or if he is trying to inject himself in a high-profile case. John Carr was arrested in Bangkok, Thailand by authorities here in Boulder, Colorado. The district attorney had a press conference today and, as you said, urged people to use caution. After he was arrested, Carr actually stopped and talked to reporters in Thailand.
I love John Benet and died accidentally. No.
Now, Carr claims that he was there when John Benet Ramsey died. He says that he is guilty. When he was asked if he was innocent, he said, no, I am not. He said it was an accident. He also said that he tried to and did reach out to the Ramsey family before Patsy Ramsey died of cancer a few months ago. Now, here are the problems with the case as it stands right now. There are some real questions. First of all, Carr's ex-wife who has no love lost between them, says that he was with her the day that John Benet Ramsey was found dead. Says he wasn't anywhere near Boulder, Colorado. There are some questions of how he could have gotten into that house and out of that house without leaving any trace. He says he drugged the girl, yet the autopsy report says there were no drugs in her system at all. Clearly there are questions, and clearly the district attorney here said today in this press conference that they may have been forced to arrest Carr a little bit early, possibly because he took a teaching job this week in Thailand, teaching young children. If he is anywhere close to who they think he is, obviously they would not want him around children. Lou, he is expected to be extradited in the next few days and brought back to Colorado. At that point, you can bet that investigators will have a lot of questions for him and will be able to flesh this out.
As you well know, Ted, this case is a legacy, and it contains a litany of prosecutorial and investigative missteps and outright incompetence from almost the outset. The district attorney suggesting they had to move now. How long has this suspect been in Thailand?
Well, they're not sure how long he's been in Thailand, but he didn't come onto the radar screen here until May of this year, when a local professor who had been communicating through emails alerted authorities, and that's when they started to move in. Clearly, as you mentioned, there have been problems with this case. They must have more evidence than just his strange confession going for them. Otherwise, you can bet they wouldn't have pulled the trigger.
Ted Rollins, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Ted Rollins will have much more on the John Benet Ramsey case later tonight. He will be hosting Larry King Live at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on CNN, and we'll continue to follow any breaking developments in the case throughout the evening here on CNN. Coming up next, two very different views on the illegal alien day labor crisis in this country and its effect on American workers. Also, Congress wants to know whose side the U.S. Justice Department is really on in the case of two U.S. Border Patrol agents that we have been reporting every night here on this broadcast. We'll have that special report on the forces at work for agents upon agents who have been betrayed. It has been 6 months since Dubai Ports World promised to sell its American port facilities. Guess what Dubai Ports has failed to do over the past 6 months? We are watching. We'll have an update for you and a special report on a new port security outrage developing in Mexico. Stay with us.
Now at Office Depot, you'll find an HP computer everyone will love. Use it to watch movies, to manage your music collection, or for work. The HP Pavilion with Intel Pentium 4 processor 524, 17-inch LCD flat panel monitor, and HP DeskJet 3915 color printer. Only $569.98 after mail-in savings. Exclusively at Office Depot.
Taking care of business.
My attitude is I am a 61-year young woman with diabetes.
From my head to my shoes.
I found a better attitude when it comes to eating.
Where I'm going and I know what.
New One Touch Ultra 2 with before and after meal averages can help you see how food affects your blood sugar.
I can enjoy food again.
I got a new attitude.
Under control.
One touch changes everything. Yeah.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Tonight, border security advocates in Congress are promising action in the case of two U.S. Border Patrol agents who were convicted of pursuing and then shooting a Mexican drug smuggler. The drug smuggler given immunity by U.S. prosecutors. Lawmakers today voiced their outrage over the case at a border security hearing held in El Paso, Texas, close to where the border confrontation took place. Casey Wyan reports from El Paso.
Whose district we are in.
Congressional leaders from both parties now promise to investigate the case of Border Patrol agents Ignacio Ramos and Jose Compean. They faced 20 years in prison for a violent confrontation with a Mexican drug smuggler. He was transporting 743 pounds of marijuana and received immunity from prosecution.
Those in the Border Patrol who believe in the highest ideals of public service will never forget the names of Ramos and Compean, the first agents in the history of the Border Patrol to go to prison for simply doing their jobs.
Their plight has reached the 8th District of Indiana. I got a question yesterday in Brazil, Indiana, and West Central Indiana at a Rotary luncheon about the fate of these two agents who have faithfully served our country. We will have an investigation of their situation and we will go as far as it needs to go.
I welcome the investigation. We will do it enthusiastically, and we say that to the families because we are fact finders.
Judiciary Committee Chairman James Sensenbrenner said the investigation will take place before year's end and will focus on the Justice Department's decision to prosecute the agents.
It's not our job in Congress under the separation of powers to go behind what the judicial branch does. But we do have oversight over the Department of Justice and what the U.S. attorneys do and what they seek indictments for.
Agents Compeán and Ramos had hoped to attend the congressional field hearing on Mexico's power over U.S. border security decisions. But their bond agreement prohibits them from being on federal property, and the hearing was held on a national park near the border. Their wives and family members did attend.
We are very happy to finally have an investigation on this, being that we have felt so alone for so long.
Questions remain about the role the Mexican government may have played in the prosecution of agents Compeán and Ramos. Some lawmakers say the agents were targeted in an effort to appease Mexico. Meanwhile, donations continue to pour in to 2 legal defense funds set up for the agents. Their families have just this afternoon, received several $1,000s to begin paying their legal bills. Lou.
Casey, this case is so frustrating, and we're hearing from our audience since we began these reports and bringing national attention to the case of Compeán and Ramos. Are we hearing any more there in El Paso about the community and how they can tolerate this kind of behavior? Or is there a sense in that community that either it is the influence of a powerful drug cartel, which we know exists in that part of the country, or is it the influence of the federal government, as Congressman Poe has suggested, trying to appease through blighting the lives of these 2 outstanding Border Patrol agents to appease the government of Mexico?
Well, the sheriff of El Paso County said at the hearing today in no uncertain terms that the drug issue, the drug cartels are beginning to take having a serious influence on the region of El Paso, all along the border, but especially here in El Paso because of the close relationship between El Paso and Juarez, the city in Mexico. He says it's an absolute nightmare that this is allowed to continue. He says he's worried about drugs, he's worried about illegal aliens, he's worried about terrorists, and he's demanding that the federal government finally do something about this. You're not hearing too much in the local media about this case. And there has been speculation that one of the reasons is because of the close relationship that this community has to Mexico.
And yet the reporter, I believe her name is Sarah Carter, has done a number of excellent reports on this case. Is that correct?
And Sarah, that is correct. Sarah Carter, though, is based in Southern California with the Inland Valley Daily Bulletin, and you haven't seen nearly as much coverage as we've been giving it, and that Sarah's paper has been giving it to this case locally. I just wanted to point out that there are a couple of news organizations with the guts to take a look at what's happening in this country, and when the U.S. government decides to put a drug smuggler's interest ahead of those of U.S. Border Patrol agents, that probably more than just a few Americans are going to be interested in the outcome. It's really a shame. Lou, I'd like to point. Yeah, it is, and I'd like to point out that it was, at least to me, pretty remarkable that you heard several congressmen from both sides of the aisle say that they're sick of this case and they want to look into it too, Lou.
And we have been waging a war on drugs. We talk about border security. This broadcast reports more on the urgent need for border security and port security than any other broadcast of any kind. And to think of the lives that are wasted, particularly among this nation's poor and disadvantaged because of drugs, and this government, this Congress, and the administration before it, and the Congresses before these, all tolerating their deaths and the destruction of lives. It is sickening on every level. And we will continue the reporting on this case and on the issue of border security, certainly, and illegal immigration for a very long time. But we're going to follow, thanks to you, Casey Wyan, this case of Ramos and Compeán throughout and through the duration. We thank you. Casey Wyan reporting tonight from El Paso. It's becoming increasingly clear tonight that President Bush's plan to send thousands of National Guard troops to our southern border has been an abject PR stunt, in my opinion. The National Border Patrol Council confirms tonight that hundreds of U.S. Border Patrol agents are being pulled from their jobs protecting our border with Mexico to protect unarmed National Guard troops located near the border instead. These are the very same troops that were sent to the border, as the President and others have suggested, to support and protect our Border Patrol agents. The Border Patrol agents call their new assignments the Nanny Patrol. Anybody had a belly full? That brings us to the subject of our poll tonight. Do you believe securing our borders and ports is a more effective national security strategy than wiretapping Americans? Yes or no? We'd love to hear what you think. Cast your vote at BlueDots.com. We'll have the results upcoming. The war in Iraq tonight appears to be more violent than at any time since the overthrow of Saddam Hussein. 110 Iraqis on average are being killed each and every day. That is the highest casualty rate since this war began. And the number of attacks against our troops and Iraqi security forces has doubled since the beginning of this year. Joining me now is General David Grange. General Grange served with distinction in Rangers, Special Forces, counter-terrorist units throughout the world, commanding the 1st Infantry Division. General, good to have you here.
Thank you, Lou.
One of the things that is just immensely confounding to many people is that the Secretary of Defense talks about death squads and militias and thugs and dead-enders when we are watching violence escalate every day. More of our troops die, and we're hearing from more of our generals in the Pentagon and in Iraq. Be patient, hold the course, and we see little evidence of an effective strategy or execution despite absolutely outstanding young men and women in uniform there serving this country. How much longer should the American people put up with what appears to be a failure of leadership?
I think what the American people need to demand right now are 3 priorities, Lou. One is that we have to become more expert in the irregular warfare. That means fighting insurgents, fighting guerrillas, lessons learned not only from Iraq, but just, for instance, what the IDF, the Israeli forces, learned in fighting the Hezbollah in Lebanon. Number 2, we need to fix broken equipment. We still have an Army, a Marine Corps that's running on an almost empty tank of fuel. Equipment is not being rehabbed fast enough. New equipment is not being bought. And number 3, we have to be prepared for the long term in this region. There's no end of conflict in sight.
General, let me quote, if I may. Let's actually listen to something that, and I believe you know him, Robert Kaplan, a military analyst and author, most recently the book Imperial Grunts. But he said this on the broadcast last night about the issue of what our troops are doing in Iraq. If we could listen to that, please.
What we lack is not numbers, but we lack well-trained area experts, small unit area experts, because in counterinsurgency, what it's all about is being embedded in with the indigenous forces, living in towns and villages, providing security 24/7, and learning how to kill without firing a shot almost, by finding out through language, through intelligence, where these guys are, because killing the enemy is easy. It's finding them that's difficult.
What's your reaction, General?
Well, I mean, I think he's right on. Intelligence is the key. I mean, we're very good at killing people, and the challenge is killing the right people at the right time and place, understanding the community you operate in other words, having the savvy street sense you need to operate in communities throughout a hostile area. So he has a very good point here.
You know, as you talk about learning and learning what the Israelis learned in the more than month-long conflict with Hezbollah, one of the things we learned is that Israel wasn't very effective in taking down Hezbollah. Hezbollah was stronger than given credit for. One of the other things is talking about fixing and repairing and equipping our people, our men and women in all the branches who are fighting. Why in the world do the generals have to continue to relearn these lessons?
You know, there is a rush in learning centers right now, not only from what's happened so far in Afghanistan and Iraq, but what happened with the Israeli forces in southern Lebanon. And you have to understand, the Israeli forces are very similar to the American forces, where they're focused on maneuver warfare, not a regular warfare, and that's part of the challenge.
Absolutely. General David Grange, as always, good to have you here, good to have your insight. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Tonight, Palm Bay, Florida may join the rising number of communities all across the country that are enacting local ordinances against illegal immigration and those who aid and abet it. Tonight, the city's government votes on a tough new measure. I'll be talking with a city councilman who supports it, the mayor who doesn't. Stay with us.
Sick of slaving over pots and pans you know you'll never get clean? Don't toss them. Rejuvenate them with the amazing Grease Bullet Cleaning Tablet. Just fill your sink with hot tap water, drop in the Grease Bullet, and soak your toughest baked-on cookware. They'll sparkle like new, inside and out, with no more scrubbing. Don't scratch your nonstick cookware. Grease Bullet cuts through caked-on cookie sheets, grimy glassware, even scorched iron skillets. It does the work so you don't have to. Lasagna. But what a mess. Even ceramic casserole dishes are no match for the Grease Bullet. This stove ring looks ruined. But look, Grease Bullet is armed with special enzymes that eat away baked-on grease and grime, making your cookware look like new again. Wow, look at that. Use it on expensive copper or this deep fryer for a quick cleanup. Use it for barbecue grills, muffin pans, even oven racks will shine like new. It's like having a personal dishwasher. It's the cleaner that's tough on grease, but easy on your hands. Plus, a little goes a long way. Just one bullet will transform all these pots and pans from sad to sparkling. Through this exclusive TV offer, you can get 6 grease bullets for just $19.99. Call now and we'll cut the price in half. That's right, you'll get 6 of the original grease bullets for only $10. But wait, as an added bonus, we'll double the offer. You'll get not just 6, but 12 grease bullets for the incredibly low price of just $10. That's enough for over 60 cleanings. Call now and we'll include the amazing Silver Lightning. It gets all your silver sparkling clean in seconds. A $20 value, yours free. Just pay shipping and handling. Place the conductor plate in your sink. Add baking soda. Pour in hot water and just set your silver on the conducting plate. Years of tarnish can be removed. Quick as lightning. You get it all. 12 grease bullets in this convenient bullet case. Plus the Silver Lightning Cleaner, a $60 value for just $10. But you have to call now.
Call 1-800-610-3751 to order Grease Bullet at the special TV price of just $10. That's 1-800-610-3751. This offer is not available in stores. Call 1-800-610-3751. Call now.
Tonight, we have an update for you on how Dubai Ports World is coming along with its promised sale of its 22 U.S. port facilities. It's been 6 months since Dubai Ports World promised to sell its U.S. port operations within 6 months. Well, no sale has yet been announced. Dubai Ports World tonight says it is moving ahead with the sale. In fact, Dubai Ports World says it's accepting initial bids on the properties beginning tomorrow. The company is not commenting on just who the interested buyers might be, nor at what price it expects those properties to sell. A prospectus was mailed to potential buyers a month ago. None has seen fit to share it with us. We hope that will change. A top Chinese government diplomat today revealed Communist China's real attitude toward this country in a moment of rare public anger for a senior Chinese official. The Chinese ambassador to the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland, used blunt language when he was asked to explain China's massive military buildup, which we've been reporting on this broadcast for years. The Communist Chinese ambassador said, quote, "Why blame China? It's better for the United States to shut up and keep quiet." The ambassador added, "It's the U.S.'s sovereign right to do whatever they deem good for them, but don't tell us what's good for China." It appears the ambassador refuses to acknowledge his country's huge military modernization is causing concern not only in this country, but throughout the Asian region. The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer coming up at the top of the hour. Wolf reporting tonight from Jerusalem. Wolf.
Thanks very much, Lou. A blow to President Bush. A federal judge says the government cannot listen in to your phone calls without a warrant. We'll find out how the White House is fighting right back. Plus, uneasy truce. Lebanese troops moving in, welcomed with white rice and flowers. We're covering both sides of the border here in the Middle East. Also, a strange wartime tea party. Lebanese soldiers sitting down with Israeli soldiers, and now those Lebanese soldiers facing investigation. The kinder, gentler war moment, all caught on tape. And confessions and questions in the JonBenet Ramsey case. Does the story of the self-proclaimed killer really add up? We're taking a closer look at the investigation. All that coming up here in the Situation Room. Lou?
Well, thank you very much. The tidal wave of illegal aliens into American communities continues to trigger tough new laws against illegal immigration in communities and cities and towns across the country. Tonight, Palm Bay, Florida's city government votes on a tough new measure. I'll be talking with the city councilman supporting it and to Palm Bay's mayor who doesn't. Stay with us.
CNN All New tonight at 10. The Jean Benet murder suspect. Who is he? How did he get away? And what about that twisted ransom note? A 360 special tonight 10.
Mixing plastic bags in with other recyclables can really clog up the works. And no decent recycling bin can stomach that.
Some of the rarest, most beautiful, and most sought-after gold coins in history were not even known to exist until a few short years ago. But now, Monaco Financial, one of the nation's leading rare coin firms, announces the availability of a very limited number of truly historic and truly magnificent gold coins minted during the 1850s California Gold Rush. These rare $20 gold double eagles, private assayer, and territorial gold coins, and more, are now available for acquisition by those who can appreciate this historic numismatic opportunity. Call Monaco Financial now for this free catalog of rare gold coins and other treasure recovered from the 1857 shipwreck of the SS Central America. Call 1-800-283-6161 now for your free Monaco Financial Gold Rush Treasure Catalog. That's 1-800-283-6161. Own a piece of history. Call Monaco for your free catalog now.
You want game? This fall, ESPN Game Plan has up to 150 extra college football games. Key matchups and rivalries from major conferences. All available when you order your exclusive ESPN Game Plan pay-per-view package. It's maximum college football. Order now.
CNN investigates Terror 2.0, Saturday and Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
Palm Bay, Florida City Council tonight could pass a law that fines businesses that hire illegal aliens. The companies would also be barred from bidding for city contracts. Now, here in just a moment, I'll be talking with the mayor of Palm Bay, who's opposed to the measure, but first, Palm Bay City Councilman Andy Anderson, who supports the ordinance. Councilman, good to have you with us. Can you hear me all right there?
I can hear you great. Nice to be with you, Lou.
Good to be with you. Some are saying that this is a federal matter. We've talked about this with communities all over the country. It's a federal matter and that cities shouldn't be involved in it. Communities, why do you think they should be?
Well, one of the things that I must point out, our ordinance is a business regulation ordinance. And it is very important to note that any ordinance that we pass cannot be preemptive over federal law. With that said, it is obvious that the federal government, the leadership in the federal government, does not want to take control of this issue. And it's placed our business owners that are law-abiding at a very big disadvantage with those unscrupulous employers who use those persons who do not have a legal right to work in the United States.
So you see this as unfair. Is there a particular problem in the community with illegal aliens, or is it simply an issue of some business owners taking advantage and exploiting illegal labor and others at a disadvantage because they're hiring U.S. citizens?
And that's exactly it. The ones that are out there hiring legal workers are having a hard time competing with those using people who do not have a right to work in the United States. So what occurs is when they bid on a project in construction, for instance, they have to, the illegal guy, the guy that's doing it right, has to bid at a much higher cost.
And let me ask you quickly, we're out of time, but are you going to, will the City Council pass this measure tonight in your judgment?
Well, it's hard to say, you know, anything can happen. We have a lot of pressure to bear upon us from outside groups.
Like who?
ACLU is one. The ACLU has really sent some heated letters to us.
They're going to try to break the budget if you do it, like they're doing to trying to do to Hazleton, Pennsylvania. But there's a solution for that. So we thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We're going to talk to the mayor of Palm Bay and another opposing who is opposing the measure. I'll be talking with him next. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us.
Thanks for calling Dell. What can we build for you?
My head is a box filled with nothing, and that's the way I like it.
Tell us what you're into, and that's what goes into your Dell. Gaming? Heading back to school? Music? Editing? No problem. We'll match the right hardware and software to fit your needs. Because at Dell, we don't build technology for just anyone. We build it for only one. You. Dell. Purely you. Dell notebooks plug into your personality wherever you go, like this Inspiron E1505 with an Intel Core Duo processor.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Joining me now, the mayor of Palm Bay, Florida, John Mazziotti. He opposes the measure that would fine businesses hiring illegal aliens. Mr. Mayor, let me ask you this. It's what I asked Andy Anderson first. Is this measure going to pass your council tonight?
30 seconds. I don't know. The vote last 2 weeks ago was 4-1. And
in
as
favor
Mr.
or
Anderson said,
opposed?
there's a lot of supporting the ordinance. I was the only one that went against it.
Why would you go against it? Are you, I mean, and Andy Anderson says, you know, it's really unfair to businesses that are not hiring illegal aliens to have that kind of labor advantage. Why would you be opposed to it?
Well, let me say this. I agree with everything Andy says. I believe that all those things are true, all those things are happening. My concern is that this ordinance doesn't do anything. This ordinance really, to go on the job, you basically have to have a reason to go on the job. You can't just walk on it and start asking for cards. What it does is it creates a whole bunch of animosity in this community, one side for, one side against. My goal is to get the federal government down here to do their job. We need to get these people documented. We need to get them, if they want to apply for citizenship or work permits, we need to work on that. And then, like everyone else, they go to the end of the line, just like they were supposed to do.
Yeah,
but the ordinance does not resolve the question.
It doesn't resolve everything, certainly. It does, though, resolve some issues. And are you concerned about the threats from the ACLU and other activist organizations that would try to bust your budget with legal expenses?
Well, they can do that if they care to. The truth of the matter is that, you know, we take advice from our attorneys, and our attorneys have told us it's defensible. I just don't think the ordinance is the way to go. I think there are better things to do, and I think we need to put pressure on the federal government to do their job.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, John, about putting pressure on the federal government. John Mazziotti, we thank you for being here. The results of our poll tonight. 96% of you say securing our borders and ports is a more effective national security strategy than wiretapping Americans. We think being